Welcome to the future, otherwise known as episode 60 of Tomorrow's World Audit Time. Evening, Mark.
Evening, Ross. God, 60, eh?
Yeah.
That does sound like a lot, actually.
It does sound like a lot, doesn't it? I was thinking about this.
Yeah.
Between 50 and 100, you tend to hit more landmarks, don't you? Like, well, 50's landmark, 60's landmark, 70's landmark, 75's landmark, 80's landmark.
Yeah.
But I really that's because it's to do with old people, isn't it? Like, you know.
It's more of an achievement.
Yeah. And you kind of overlay that to, needlessly overlay that to all numbers rather than just age.
You've also, as cool young people, we also recognise there's some kind of cool, funky numbers in there, like 64. That's a good number. 69's a great number.
Yeah.
All the kids, all the kids are going to be epically anticipating episode 6, 7.
Oh,
so, there's
of course,
a lot to look forward to.
Isn't there? Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I couldn't help but think that the other day. I was like, so we've done 60 episodes. Each one takes us 3 to 4 hours to record.
Yeah.
Do you think that's been a good use of our time, Russ?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, cool. That's all right. I was thinking the same thing too.
Actually, I did look. My podcast app tells you. No, what was it? No, it was the years. It was the year roundup because our podcast company sends us a wrap. Like everyone sends a wrapped now. Like Sainsbury's sends you a wrapped and all that. Anyway.
Yes, I understand. I wasn't aware of this.
But and they sent us a wrapped telling us like all the various facts and figures about our podcast. And the total amount of our podcast, if you listen to it all in one sitting, is ridiculous, isn't it? It's like it's several days.
Oh yeah, no, it's over a week, I think, isn't it? Or nearly a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now that
would
not be a productive use of time, Mark.
No, that would not.
Listen to all that in one marathon session.
Would not recommend. I do remember when we hit the 24 hours worth of available content, thinking, I cannot believe somebody out there might listen to us. It would take a whole day. We have blown past that. I as a general rule, I try not to think about these things.
Yeah, well,
because the weird thing is every now and then, like, we will have like an explosion of downloads where somebody somewhere has discovered us and decided to download every single episode we've ever done.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, like, a couple of years ago, that would have just filled your phone. You wouldn't have any text messages coming in.
Yeah. Maybe we should add that to our figures at the end, Mark. How many hours we've been talking for?
Oh, I'll write that down because I've been adding more stats.
Yeah. And that in itself, obviously, will then boost our stats because it'll be more talking for longer.
That's true.
Anyway, episode 60, obviously, special episode. But actually, this is a very special episode, Mark. It's
very special episode.
Very special episode. It's an episode that I hope we don't have to do very much. In that it's tinged with sadness. Our old friend from school, Matt Birch, who I've known since I was 11 years old, even longer than you, Mark. I've knew him. Yeah. Sadly died before Christmas. But Matt was a huge supporter of the podcast. Matt, I think he's probably one of our first ever listeners. He listened to us right from the very beginning. Every time I saw him, he always complained about the episodes being too long. But the key is that he always listened, Mark. And I think we probably mentioned him a few times in the
we have mentioned it a few
episodes.
times, definitely. Yeah.
So that was obviously a huge surprise, very unexpected and very sad. And I went to his funeral a few weeks ago, and his old housemates from university, JJ and Andy, they did a tremendous job of giving what's the speech you do at a funeral? A eulogy at the funeral. It was very entertaining and sort of helped make a very difficult day much easier. They were so entertaining that the man officiating the funeral, well, they got a name as well, haven't they? I don't know what it is.
You can say efficient.
Yeah, efficient.
Yeah, go on.
He said, "Oh yeah, cheers for that, Anton Deck," at one point, which I thought was very funny. But amazingly, they actually mentioned our podcast in the eulogy, which is not something I expected.
It's not the kind of organic advertising approach you were expecting.
No, not at all. But a tremendous honour. And I thought, well, as Matt was such a dedicated listener, and I thought we'd do an episode as a tribute to him. Matt was a Navy man. He spent nearly 10 years in the Navy. And then he had a job afterwards that was something to do with ships or the ocean or something. Whenever I asked him what his job was, it was almost impossible for me to understand what he was talking about.
Yeah,
but
when I have to say, when I asked him, because normally I'm slightly better at understanding these things than you are, and I don't mean that as a criticism of you. It's more like I will actually just probe slightly more. No idea. Genuinely no idea. No.
But
I know he was earning tons.
Suffice to say, he loved his boats and ships, and also was very pedantic about what a ship was and what a boat was.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have no idea. Luckily...
No, as part of the tribute, we'll be getting this wrong.
Yes,
right?
yeah. We'll get this wrong all the way through the episode. But I found an episode, a tremendous episode.
I dare you to email in, Matt.
Which is all... Oh, imagine if he did. That'd be spooky.
I know.
Which is all about boats and ships. Actually, weirdly, I don't think it actually has any boats or ships in it. It has... things. It has futuristic things which are like boats and ships, but it's all set on the water. It's a tremendous episode. It's from the 28th of April 1966, a very early episode, and it is Raymond Baxter live from the first commercial crossing of a hovercraft going across the channel from Dover to Calais. So I imagine it's been hugely exciting at the time, Mark. I mean, like broadcasting live from a high-speed vehicle and timing it perfectly, as they do, within the half hour of the programme. Very little goes wrong, technically. It's a bit of a landmark episode. When I have read through Raymond Baxter's obituaries, this episode gets mentioned a lot. The two main things that Baxter gets mentioned for, generally, of firsts, are that he did this first crossing on the hovercraft, and also he was in the first flight of Concorde. So that's a good double whammy, isn't it, Mark? Unfortunately, the first flight of Concorde was not on an episode of Tomorrow's World. It was a new special, so we'll never be able to do that one, unfortunately. But we are able to do this one. Yeah. So in honour of Matt and his love of boats and ships, we've got this very nautical episode. So shall we get into it and
let's do it, Russ. Yeah, let's get on with it.
Join us now at a little after 30 seconds after 7 o'clock in a Westland SRN-6 hovercraft, in fact the new Townsend ferry, belting across the channel between Dover and Calais. At Calais, in the harbour, our shore cameras are mounted, waiting, we hope, to show you our arrival there before the end of the programme. I must say, we could scarcely have better conditions for it. It's a beautiful evening with a long, lazy swell in the channel to make this 50-mile-an-hour run an extremely exciting one. Now, next Saturday, two completely new cross-channel services by hovercraft will be inaugurated. This one and an identical craft run by a Swedish company. Next year, bigger and better and faster hovercraft will be on the service. The Channel Tunnel is, of course, in the offing. So one thing is quite certain. In tomorrow's world, it will be much quicker and easier to get across the channel than it is today. Our scheduled time for this run is round about 34 minutes. And so, to get as much of the journey into our program as possible, we have already recorded our arrival from Dover. Our departure from Dover.
Oh dear, Raymond fluffs it in his intro, Mark.
He does.
His arrival to Dover. Our departure from Dover. But
I maintain, if this was any other era and any other man, you feel like, he's given it away there, isn't he? This is all a lie. I genuinely think he just fluffed it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think so. Yes. Well, he corrects himself very quickly, doesn't he?
He does, like all liars do.
This faintly reminded me of Top Gear, in that they've set themselves a challenge and then made sure that they actually arrive at exactly the time they want them to arrive at. You know what I mean? So they've obviously it was 34-minute crossing, so we've got to cut 4 minutes off. So yeah, so that's why that bit's re-recorded, I guess. I wonder what would happen if the hovercraft had broken down or got in some sort of trouble, Mark. What would they have done on a live episode like this?
I don't know. I was thinking about that as well. I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah. But luckily they did nothing.
Well, we'll never know because it's just pro from start to finish, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah. Shall I talk about hovercrafts now, or should we wait until I talk about hovercrafts after the next bit?
I think after the next bit.
After the next bit?
I mean, yeah.
Well, the only thing I'll say about this bit is that I did have a corgi model of this very hovercraft, Mark. But and you've been on a hovercraft, haven't you?
I have. I know. We'll discuss that in a minute. But what I like there was, and the people at home can't see. You were so smug when you told me that. I've been on hovercrafts, but you had a corgi model.
I did. Okay. Yeah, corgi super.
Yeah, no, cool.
Good. Yeah,
I'm very proud of you, Russell. I'm very proud of you. Okay.
Yeah. Right, let's have a little bit more hovercraft action.
You even checked your
before
nails.
We really get into it.
Well, a very awkward angle of beach that. A hovercraft is certainly the only vessel capable of doing that. The first thing that happens is that we go up to our full 4 feet of hover height, and you will see the skirt on the hull of the craft inflate. Remember, that is in fact a skirt. It isn't that we're riding on an inflated bag. We are now in fact riding on a layer of air. And already we have completed this extraordinary transition from land to water, which gives the hovercraft its remarkable amphibious ability. Well, now, before we get out of range of our shore cameras, let's have a word with Bob Strath of Westlands in command. First of all, how do you control the machine with these levers you have at your disposal?
Oh, very much like an aircraft. The center stick here is analogous to the control column. If you move it to the left, it pulls the skirt lift jacks and the craft will roll to the left.
Well, bank to the left.
Bank to the left.
Yeah.
If you coordinate the turn with the rudder, such as I'm doing now, and then we'll swing it over to the right, do an S-turn.
So, as far as this lever is concerned, it's really very like a conventional aircraft, Bob.
In the sense of control, yes. Yes, it is. You push the stick forward and it tightens up the front jacks, and the nose will drop. You pull it back, and the rear jacks will tighten up, and the skirt drops at the back end. Just like the elevator control lock.
And in fact, all this is done by adjusting the layer of air on which we are now skimming at 20 knots already, I see.
Yes.
Well, you don't have to worry. One of the
harbour regulations.
Yeah, but one of the advantages of a hovercraft is that you're not making any wash, so I'm sure the harbour master won't complain.
I'm sure he won't.
You can also, of course, stop virtually in your own length in this type of craft.
Back now.
And there it is. Well, this, of course, is an important safety aspect when manoeuvring in confined waters such as this.
Very much so.
Maximum speed?
Of the craft, 56 knots.
Speed this evening, you anticipate?
I should think we'll probably get 50 knots crossing the channel tonight.
Which certainly isn't hanging about. We'll detain you no longer. If you swing her around, we've got the harbour mouth away to our right now, I see. And here, in the craft itself, you can see it's very much like travelling in a medium-sized aircraft, or perhaps on a more prosaic level, the inside of a motor coach, but it's a very fast-moving one. Already we're setting course now for the familiar exit from or entrance to Dover Harbour on this perfect evening. And now we certainly won't talk to the commander. You'll notice he's in the right-hand seat. His co-pilot, Jerry Evans, who is more or less acting as navigator with a radar set, sits on the left-hand seat. You see also that the windscreen wipers are going. Well, that's because hovercraft fetch up quite a lot of spray, even in ideal conditions. But now here we go, out through the harbour entrance and onto the open sea, and now we can feel the craft responding to the long, lazy swell of the channel. There's the South Foreland looking out on our port side, and already we've accelerated up to something like 45 miles an hour.
But Mark, I've never been on a hovercraft myself. You have been on a hovercraft, I believe.
Yeah.
Is it as loud as it
Yes.
looks like it would be? Is it? How loud is it?
Is it as loud as it sounds like it is?
It's
Yeah.
loud enough for
it is.
It's loud enough for Raymond to be struggling to be talking over it for the entire episode, which obviously ticks off
Yes.
one of our little.
Easily smashes it through. Smashes it through to the next episode. Yeah, it is really loud. I've been on a hovercraft, I suppose, 3 times because one was a return trip. Yeah, the first time was, I think, about 1990, and it was one of the... Later in the episode, they will talk about how the fact that they're on a small one, which is basically passenger hovercraft. Yeah. But next year, they're rolling out big hovercraft.
The SRN6.
The SRN6, well remembered.
No, sorry, the SRN4. This is the SRN6.
Oh,
the one weirdly, yes. Weirdly, the numbers are the wrong way around. You would think the SRN6 would be bigger, but it's not.
Yeah, I would.
The SRN4 is the bigger one.
Okay,
that confused me when I was doing my research, but
I bet. But you got there in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big one, really, really big. Huge, giant thing. Cars were going in and out. I remember, I think one of the questions you ask is like, do they really expect people to board them on the beach? It's like, the answer is yes, absolutely. That's how we got on. I think we kind of walked down to, I don't think it went from Dover to Calais. I think my memory was focused into Boulogne. And yeah, you'd walk down, you'd climb up these stairs, up over the skirt and in. And there were, there's a big, huge ramp at the front and cars were driving in. It may not have been at the beach, but like it was on a big, huge bit of concrete next to the beach. And then, it starts up and it is really shaky and really loud. And then the second time I did it was to a wedding, I don't know, about 10 years ago, I suppose, on the Isle of Wight. And it is one much more comparable to this size that Raymond's in now, maybe slightly bigger. But again, just passenger. On we got. And again, you walk onto this concrete pad on the beach and then off you go. And my memory is that was much louder and much shakier than the big one. I remember just being thrilled by both of them. I will say my profoundest memory of being on board the first one in 1990, the big, huge kind of proper car ferry style hovercraft.
Yeah.
When I picture it and I close my eyes and I can see and I'm next to the window, there was an American woman next to me. And all I could do that whole trip was quiz her about why the credits on American TV shows went by so fast that you couldn't read anyone. And so, like, how is that fair? That's it. That's my memory of being on a hovercraft for the first time, Russ.
What a strange combination of memories, Mark. I imagine an American would be quite thrilled to go on a hovercraft. It's a distinctly British invention. I feel
like it, right? Yeah.
Not so much these days, but I remember when we were younger, the fact that we invented the hovercraft was quite a celebrated thing. Like, everyone knew the name Sir Christopher Cockerell, he who invented the hovercraft. He was a bit of a household name, really. And so I always, as I mentioned Concorde earlier, I always kind of associated with, it's in a similar thing with the Concorde, in that it was this sort of engineering feat that occurred and was very highly celebrated. And then these days you can't really use them very much because, spoiler alert, it's not cute. There are some hovercrafts still around, but not very many.
Yeah, it's the thing is, it's like kind of 1960s futurism, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like a kind of it felt like it was the start of something. I'm sure at the time we weren't alive at the time, but actually it turns out to be a bit of a cul-de-sac. and I include Concorde in that because Concorde was never replaced, it was never upgraded, it was never improved. It just was.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, because it was a bit of a cul-de-sac. Like, all the problems of them were... I'm delighted to have been on hovercraft, especially the big ones, because I don't think they exist anymore. I actually genuinely was surprised you hadn't. I don't know why. I kind of just imagined you would have been.
No. I imagine, was hovercraft more expensive than a regular boat? That's probably why I wouldn't have been on it.
I don't know. It's a good question. I suppose they were quicker.
Yeah. I feel like you should be paying premium for a hovercraft, just for the novelty value, surely.
There's the sheer pride that courses through your blood as you get on one as a proud Englishman.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that.
The other thing I was thinking is, I'm surprised. You'd think the one country where they'd be most popular is the one I'm sitting in right now. The Netherlands is screaming out for hovercraft. Surely it's entirely flat because hovercraft don't really like hills, obviously for obvious reasons, and there's loads of water everywhere. But the hovercraft are amphibious. It's a perfect environment for hovercraft. You could be zooming on and off canals, left, right, and centre.
I could completely imagine you getting in one and just basically hovercrafting all the way into the centre of Amsterdam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And yet I've never seen a hovercraft in the Netherlands. It's amazing.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Who do we write to?
I don't know. Or maybe I should just get one, Mark. Start a trend.
Oh, yeah. I do think they are quite difficult to control, though. Whenever you see them, they are kind of an acquired skill set. A skill set is required to kind of maneuver them.
They used to have them on Run the Gauntlet. Do you remember Run the Gauntlet?
Yes.
They used to have them on Run the
Yes.
Gauntlet, didn't they? Miniature ones.
Yeah.
And they always looked very tricky to control on that. The whole point was they're really tricky to control, I think, was that it made it was a challenging event. The thing with this episode, Mark, is I think it's a good episode.
Yeah.
But with the actual segments themselves, there's not a huge amount to talk about because it's very straightforward, aren't they? Basically, the stuff that happens just happens. Like
Basically, yeah. We'll just be responding to what we've seen.
Yeah. So everything that you've heard is what happens. Like the hovercraft takes off from Dover, gets going, gets a good head of speed up. Raymond starts chatting.
50 knots it can do in the channel. But he politely explains that they're up to 45 miles per hour, which is quite quick.
Does that annoy you, Mark, that they insist on using knots rather than miles per hour?
100%.
Why?
Especially because it's so close to miles per hour in terms of speed that it just feels willful.
Yeah.
And if I didn't tell Matt that when he was alive, I was a fool. I should have said it to him. Well, these regrets that we keep with us, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, though, I bet you we probably did whinge about that at the pub one time.
Definitely.
Yeah, why'd you use knots?
Yeah. Raymond has a chat to the fellas up front. It gets mentioned a lot about the fact that this is close to an aircraft. Like Raymond keeps drawing comparisons to aircraft more than boats.
It is one of the connective tissues throughout this episode is the desperate allusion to flight.
Yes.
And that's partly Raymond probably, let's be honest, showing off that he was a pilot of some renown.
Yes, yeah.
And I think it's partly Bob, Commander Bob, or whatever his name is, because I think he's referred to as a pilot at one point and commander at a different point.
Yeah.
It's also partly him probably desperately trying to imply that like his skill set is up with an airline pilot.
Well, the interesting thing here is, Mark, is that it is the case that, and I don't know what, because obviously when the hovercraft was invented, it was regarded as not one nor t'other, really.
Yeah.
But part of the problems Christopher Cockerell had initially with getting people to build the thing in the first place was that aircraft manufacturers weren't interested because it didn't fly, and boat manufacturers weren't interested because it wasn't a boat. So
it wasn't a boat.
Yeah. So, but they did settle on using the terminology of flight with it for some reason. I don't know why. So even to this day, a journey in a hovercraft is referred to as a flight rather than a voyage.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And up until the sort of the 70s or so, almost all the people who piloted these hovercraft were sourced from
pilots
from the RAF or the Fleet Air Arm.
Oh wow!
So yeah. So that's why there is this association, because as Raymond points out, the controls are more like an aeroplane than they are a boat.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of explains that. So it's not just Raymond trying to drag it back to his expertise. There is a certain amount of
all right. I apologise then.
Certain amount of logic to it. So yeah, so Christopher Cockerell, Mark. Let's have a great name, isn't it? It's a Christopher Cockerell. Maybe part of the reason why it's so well remembered is it's a very easy to remember name.
Yeah. Good bit of branding.
He came from a. I thought we mentioned him at Christmas, didn't he? His whole family were engineers because obviously his nephew was on that Christmas episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone in his family was something to do with engineering, and he was supported by his dad, who even when he was a kid implored him to get as many patents as possible on everything that he was building. Because Christopher Cockerell was like inventing from a young age. Like he redesigned his mum's sewing machine and all things like this. And his dad would offer him £10 for everything he got patented, from like as a teenager. So in his lifetime, Christopher Cockerell patented over 70 different things. So he got his engineering degree and all this. And during World War II, he worked on radar and a radio location system used by bombers. So there was all very important stuff he did in World War II. And then after the war, he came out and he didn't really enjoy working because he was working for Marconi. He didn't really enjoy working in like teams of people. He liked being like a bit of a lone ranger, inventor sort of person. So his wife's dad died, and they got an inheritance. And with that inheritance, he decided to buy a boat and caravan company in Norfolk. It didn't really make very much money. So he decided, how am I going to make more money with these boats? I know, I need to try and invent the fastest boat I possibly can. And he realised, thinking about it, that to make a boat go faster, you need to lift it out of the water, because then you don't get any drag, because obviously the thing that's slowing a boat is the drag from the water it's going through. So if you lift it off of the water, then you're not going to get any drag. So all the power is going to go into forward movement. So he started to think of ways of doing this, and then it started experimenting. The people had previously attempted to make hovering craft. He wasn't the first person to think of this idea. But what previously people tried to do was basically just blast air downwards, just in general, below the boat. Mm-hmm. So that would require a really powerful engine to lift the boat in any great amount. So Christopher Cockerell's genius idea was that if you forced the air in a curtain around the edge of the boat, it would be like like when you put your thumb over the end of a hose, it would concentrate the air and cause much more downward thrust. And then that would lift you would need a less powerful engine to lift up the craft higher. So that was his idea. The way he first tested that apparently was he got a big coffee tin and then a kitty cat tin, put it in the middle, and then got a vacuum cleaner, set it to blow, and then just blasted it in there, and it demonstrated that his idea of this air curtain thing would work. So then he worked on loads. He lived in this village in Suffolk, and he started building prototypes and stuff and testing them on the village green opposite his house, which must have been a fun thing for his neighbours to watch. He knew he was onto something, so he was like spending all of his own money on this because I think he might have remortgaged his house at one point to pay for all this stuff because he desperately needed money to develop it into a proper thing. But as I said, he tried to go to boat people, they said no. He tried to go to airplane people, they said no. So he decided, I'll take it to the government. At the time, that you could go to the government with something, and if it was good enough, then the department would give you funding to get these things set up. And apparently, he took it to Whitehall and was like, he had this prototype, and he was like zooming it around the offices, demonstrating what a great idea it was, and all the ministers leaping out of the way and things like that. But astonishingly, and I think incredibly out of order, this thing, they then asked the military, because obviously his idea was, well, the military can use this. It'd be great for amphibious landings and stuff. And much like the aeroplane and boat companies, like the RAF said, well, it's not a plane, we're not interested. The Navy said, well, it's not a boat, we're not interested. And then the Army just weren't interested anyway. No, none of them were interested. But then the government, rather than saying, oh, just go away like this, they went, okay, well, we're not going to give you any money, but this might be a valuable invention.
So they classified
it. Yeah, we're classifying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they made it secret. So he could now. At this point, he couldn't do anything with it. He was just stuck. That's just out of order, isn't it?
I don't know that at all. Yeah, that's not fair.
Yeah. So I think it's about a year or two went by, and then word got out. I don't know how this happened, but there was word that the Continentals were working on a very similar sort of vehicle. Soon as word got round that was happening, suddenly the British government went, oh, okay, we need to develop this idea, declassified it, and put him in contact with this company called Saunders Roe, who were, I think they were a flying boat company. So,
okay.
Close enough, cross between boats and planes. In order to get this built, he had to give the patent to the government, but in return, they would pay for development of the first full-size prototype, and then at some point in the future they would then pay him a royalty or whatever. And at this point, things started moving really quickly. At this point, now we had this. So then they built the first ever hovercraft, which was called the SRN-1, the Saunders Roe Nautical 1, and that made its first crossing from Calais to Dover on the 25th of July 1959. Now I didn't realise this, but it turns out that I have never, before doing the research, never actually seen what the first hovercraft looked like. I don't know whether you've seen what it looked like, Mark. But
no.
So I got this. It's quite an interesting looking thing. So I got this. There's quite a lot of footage of it. But I got this thing called.
Oh, you got a video.
Yeah. This is a look at life, which is like a thing shown in the cinema at the time, and I'll play this sort of bit. So this will be Sir Christopher Cockerell himself having a little talking about the hovercraft, and then there'll be a little footage of it arriving at the beach.
We started with 2 tins, and now we have the Saunders Roe craft, and one of these days you will be crossing the channel on a cushion of air.
Saturday, the 25th of July, 1959, was the day on which Christopher Cockerell's prophecy began to come true. On this day, the hovercraft made its first successful crossing of the English Channel, skimming in a cloud of spray through the entrance to Dover Harbour shortly after dawn. holidaymakers had got up early to welcome the arrival. It was 50 years exactly to the day since Blériot had flown the Channel for the first time and landed his flimsy plane in a field on the cliffs of Dover. Here was another Channel crossing that had made history and perhaps opened the way to a new form of travel.
It's a very sort of Jerry Anderson looking vehicle, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
exactly correct. Yeah.
It doesn't look anything like what we think of a hovercraft now. It's a fascinating thing. I mean, there's a number of weird things about it. I mean, it looks like a UFO. At the time, apparently, some journalists referred to it as a flying saucer, which it kind of has that kind of look about it. It's got that single giant engine fan in the middle of it. Because at this point, they...
Like a big, huge cooling tower.
Yes, yeah.
Kind of structure,
At this point, their initial concept was that the one engine would power both the lift and the forward motion. It was
drive.
Subsequently, they realised that it's actually quite the too many trade-offs is quite inefficient, and that's when they realised they should have two separate engines, one for direction of travel and one for lift. But that came with like the second or third iteration of it. The other big thing that you notice, Mark, is it didn't have any skirts. It's got no rubber skirts.
No.
So initially their idea was it was going to be more like a Flymo, like just zoom across.
Yeah.
What they did realise is that without the skirt, it sits too low in the water. So it would hover above the water, but a little bit too low. So if there was a big wave, it would just crash into the front of the craft. So it was somebody else. It was a friend of Sir Christopher Cockerell, or Sir Christopher Cuckle, as they call him in that piece. I don't know whether that's the correct pronunciation.
Christopher Cuckle.
Yeah, one of his friends came up with the rubber skirt idea, and then once that they realised, we can lift this 4 feet or 4 meters.
4 feet.
4 feet
is what
off the waves. Then that's a much better system. And then once those two extra ideas have been cobbled onto it, then you had your the proper modern idea for a proper hovercraft that could go into production and be used commercially. I think it was in the first segment, wasn't it? Raymond mentioned that it was going to be a Norwegian?
Swedish company. We're going to run England to France cross-channel trips. Yeah. And an English company and a Swedish company both were going to be.
And that's the weird thing is that the Scandinavians leapt on this immediately. Even despite this being a British invention, the people that actually bought the first commercial hovercraft were Norwegian. And then it's quickly spread to Denmark and then to Sweden. And then once it got to Sweden, there was a company called Swedish Lloyd. They launched a company called Hoverloyd, which was the first commercial hovercraft company. And that's why there's this mention of the Swedish company in the opening thing. Yeah,
that makes sense.
They for some reason, the Scandinavians just love the idea of hovercrafts straight off the bat. I don't know why. I don't know what. So then the first commercial hovercraft company in Britain was a company called Hover Travel, who in 1965 started doing the Portsmouth to Isle of Wight route. So that must be the one that you went on. Did you go Portsmouth to Isle of Wight?
Yeah. It was Portsmouth to the Isle of Wight.
Yeah, and that they used these Raymond SRN 6s. Hover Travel is still going, Mark. It's one of only 2 commercial year-round hovercraft routes still going in the world. And Hover Travel's been going since 1965 continuously, which means it's the oldest of the 2. The other one is in a place called Oita in Japan. I don't know where Oita is. I don't know if have you heard of Oita?
Oh, yeah. I've been to
Oita,
I was near it very recently. Yeah. No, genuinely, yeah.
Yeah, they run
Russ, you probably... I can't believe you've forgotten it. It was one of the host cities of the 2002 World Cup.
Oh, was it? Well, then I imagine David Beckham and Zinedine Zidane probably got the Oita hovercraft service from the airport to the city, which is it does 33 kilometres from the airport to the city. Yeah, so that's the only other continuous hovercraft service in the world. There are a few around, but
I got a train from Oita a few months ago.
You could have got the bloody hovercraft.
I do not remember there being a hovercraft available. Yeah, damn a blast.
So then, once that was going, then they went, we can bring in. So yeah, as Raymond says, bringing in cross-channel services. The one that Raymond's on here, you probably saw the livery on the outside of the boat. It says it's a Townsend. It says it's Townsend Ferries. They had just brought this in, obviously, when Raymond's doing this here. The service lasted for 2 months.
2 months?
2 months,
Bloody
and then
hell.
shut down because nobody used it. I guess it's just too. Is it too futuristic? Maybe.
I was thinking back then, who is traveling to France with just like one bag?
Yeah.
You know, like if you're traveling to France, you know, like basically the cross channel ferry is to get your car across, right? And I was thinking, like, how many solo passengers can you? Yeah,
because basically,
because then the other end you end up in Calais.
Yeah, because you're not going to. I mean, you don't go for a walk around Calais, do you? Really? I mean,
Yeah, no, it's not really what people did, right?
was the booze cruise a thing back then? I don't know. Even then, you
I don't think so.
you know, you don't really do a booze cruise with just your hand luggage, do you?
With just your hands, no, you don't.
No. So yeah, that's probably why it failed, Mark. It's a good point. Elsewhere, these SRN6s that this Raymond model did do some exciting stuff. So it turns out they must have been very well built, Mark, because there was one that did a expedition for National Geographic in 1968, and it travelled from Manaus in Brazil, which is right. Basically,
One of the host sissies from another World Cup.
like if you look at South America, it's slap bang right in the centre of the continent.
Right. Yeah.
And it drove through jungle, or jungle up the Amazon and through the rainforest, all the way to Trinidad. in one
way.
Yeah, in one journey.
Bloody hell.
So it's 2,400 kilometres. So on a nature trip for National Geographic. And then, also in 1968, there was the British Trans-African Hovercraft Expedition, which was in Western Equatorial Africa, and it's the longest hovercraft expedition ever conducted, and that went 8,000 kilometres through Africa.
8,000 kilometres.
Yeah. And I mean, you're not going to find a hovercraft repairman in Equatorial Africa in 1968. So it's a real testament to how reliable and sturdy these things must have been if they were able to do stuff like that. And they do look sturdy, don't they? There's just something quite. Considering it's like
They do, yeah.
Considering it's like
They look
it's like
simple.
Yeah. As long as nobody goes, hell for leather on the rubber skirt with a machete. I mean, that might cause trouble. But even then, you could just get a giant punch repair kit, I guess.
That's true. Exactly. Yeah.
But that is something that needs stressing, isn't it, Mark? And I think some people think that hovercrafts are the underside of them is inflatable. It's not. I mean, it does inflate, but it's not. It's not an inflatable. It's a.
Yes.
It's a skirt that's being blown.
Yeah, it's not a big tube.
It's not. Yeah, it's not a big tube. We will have a big tube later, but that's a very different thing. But yeah, so Christopher Coral got a knighthood in 1969. He's a very celebrated man. However, the stingy old government, Mark.
They didn't pay him in the end, did they not?
Well, they did.
Where's his royalty check?
They did pay in total, considering he just spent more than 10 years working on this project. They gave him £150,000 lump sum, right?
Okay.
Which in modern money, is £2.2 million, right?
Okay. Yeah.
However, the tax rate was very high back then.
They didn't tax him on that.
So after tax, it was only £28,000,
Oh, stop.
which is £400,000 in today's money.
Okay.
But that's 10 years' work. So he basically was.
Yeah.
He invented a whole new mode of transport for a salary of 40 grand a year. I don't know whether. Is that. I mean, that seems a bit stingy, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, it does. I mean, my assumption was he might be getting a little bit of payment from Saunders Row or whatever. But
No, because he had to. Because part of the agreement was he had to hand over the rights to the thing in return for it to get it made.
An unpaid
So
advisor.
this was just a lump sum royalty, and that was it. That's all he got. He tried. He took him. The government he tried to take him to court to get a bigger settlement. And it didn't. He didn't win. That was all he got.
Kids, this is why you bring a lawyer to these negotiations.
Yes, yeah. And he was a little. I mean, obviously, he was a little bit disappointed about that. But to his credit, he was always very sort of. He wasn't bitter about it. He just he accepted it as well. C'est la vie.
He got to do it, right?
I got to do it. I'm very proud of my. I'm very proud of my invention. I'm very proud that it's a British thing. All of this.
Yeah.
So he wasn't.
All right.
Something to bear in mind, Mark, later on, because for somebody else that comes up, it's a slightly different story. But he died in 1999, but by that point they reckon that over 600 million people had travelled by hovercraft worldwide, and obviously that's 1999. So since then, it could be 610 million. And also after he invented the hovercraft in the 1970s, he also invented the first ever wave power machine.
Oh, okay.
Because at the time, obviously, he was oil crisis, and at the time he went, oh, we need to start thinking of ways of generating power without using oil.
Yeah.
And obviously his
very progressive
expertise
chap,
was
right?
with the ocean.
Yeah.
So he came up with that. Took that to various people. No one was interested in it whatsoever.
Fine.
It turns out his lifelong maxim was people do not really want new ideas, even when they involve a better way. And I mean, he's quite right, isn't he? People.
Oh, it's frighteningly
A lot,
accurate,
a lot
right?
of the world's problems can boil down to people not liking change and not wanting to do anything new. It's a shame. I do think it's a shame that there's not more hovercrafts in the world, Mark. But you know.
But they are really noisy.
They are very noisy.
And they do. I just feel like they need a lot of space to manoeuvre, right?
And they are a nightmare to control.
They do seem like a nightmare to control.
If you took away,
other than that,
if you took away everyone's cars and gave them all a hovercraft instead, what sort of chaos would be on the?
I mean, you are a mature adult, Russ, and I don't ever think you have or would consider operating a vehicle having had some drinks. That just doesn't seem like that would be the kind of thing you do.
But if you was in a hovercraft,
exactly.
The thing
Can you
is,
imagine the carnage?
you presumably could just crash into
go through the canals.
You could crash into each other though, and it'd be actually probably quite
dodgems.
pretty far. Yeah, but it's basically just dodgems, aren't they? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, talking of which, there's something I forgot to mention. Back when that first SRN1 hovercraft was built, old Duke of Edinburgh went to visit it and blagged to go on the controls.
Oh yeah.
And immediately whacked it into top speed.
Really?
Yeah. And damaged it. And because it hit the wave so hard, it put a big dent in it, which they from then on referred to as the Royal Dent, and never fixed it. Yeah, I sort of think the Royals can get away with, Mark. If anybody else turned up and dented their prototype, they'd be kicked out in their ear, wouldn't they? But no, Duke of Edinburgh, it's all ho, 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 ho.
Oh, chuckle.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's hovercraft. We'll come back to hovercraft later because there's a bit more hovercraft action. But shall we see what other exciting developments there are in the boat world?
But now let's turn to another kind of marine craft, the subject of our first film item in tonight's programme. Everything this evening is connected with water in some way or another, and of course there have been striking advances in this field of recent years. Hydrofoils, for instance, are another spectacular answer to the problem of transporting passengers at high speed across the water.
If these speedboats seem to be almost flying out of the water, then it's not by accident. For ships to get faster, like a man on skis, they must rise above the dragging resistance of the sea. This is a Russian hydrofoil. Although the principle was invented 60 years ago, they're only now becoming popular as passenger craft. The principle of the hydrofoil ship is quite simple. At low speeds it behaves normally, but as the speed increases, the submerged hydrofoils act in the same way as aircraft wings and lift the hull clear of the water. Now freed from the resistance or drag of the water, the hydrofoil can get increased speed with less engine power. For the 150 passengers on this Russian hydrofoil bus, a 50-mile-an-hour ride down the Volga is completely smooth. In rough open seas, this US Navy Coast Guard cutter at speed wallows alarmingly, but it's left as if standing still by the Denison. With its huge foils half submerged, it speeds through the oncoming waves at 40 knots. The bridge looks more like an airliner flight deck. The whole vessel is built to aircraft standards. Landing in the sea after a high-speed run, the Denison throws up quite a spray. But she isn't the fastest hydrofoil. This one is. A US Navy 100-mile-an-hour jet-powered craft for anti-submarine work. And in England, this research boat, with its odd diamond-shaped foils, has been undergoing sea trials following a program of tank testing. At the National Physical Laboratory, research workers can study the behavior of scale models slung beneath a moving platform under varying conditions of speed. They can also vary the height and the length of the waves. This small Dutch hydrofoil made the journey last year from Rotterdam to London at 30 knots. But this was an experimental run, and skimming over the waves, the ship takes quite a bashing. This is the big drawback of the hydrofoil. But this spidery-looking prototype may have the answer to the problem of big waves. It's the invention of a naval architect, Christopher Hook.
This is the fully submerged hydrofoil, the type that I have pioneered, and which varies its lift with the varying angle that it goes through the water. Now, whereas all V-type hydrofoils of this type and ships and hovercraft all tend to get into trouble when they get into waves, the object of the fully submerged hydrofoil of this type is that it can fly on its own path, perfectly level, underneath the waves. Then you have your craft on struts above the foils, and your vehicle up here, so that you're also following a perfectly level line of flight. Just as the railway engineer has built viaducts and cuttings and tunnels to smooth out the countryside, so this fully submerged hydrofoil completely smooths out the ride over a rough sea.
Christopher Hook has produced designs for a hydrofoil of this type for crossing the Channel. But after 24 years of trying, he can't interest anyone in this country in his ideas. And he's now selling the invention to a company in America. The Americans are applying hydrofoil principles to the most unlikely vehicles. This lorry floats like a boat. When the propeller and foils are lowered, it can lift up out of the water, and who knows, may one day carry the US Marines at 40 miles an hour, as their theme song says, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli.
From the halls of Montezuma to the hall to what's it the toe?
The shores of Tripoli?
It's the shores of Tripoli.
Yeah.
Let's get that out of the way for a start, Mark. Before we get into this.
Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. That's a tune, isn't it?
It is, in the Marines hymn.
Yeah.
I thought that's weird, isn't it? Montezuma and Tripoli.
Yeah.
It don't seem like a very American. Well, obviously Montezuma is, Mexico, but so I looked
Tripoli
it up.
isn't.
Tripoli isn't. I thought, what are you about Tripoli for? So I looked it up. The Horse of Montezuma refers to the Battle of Chapultepec in 1847 during the Mexican-American War, where a bunch of Marines stormed the Chapultepec Castle. Apparently, that actually it's a poetic license because the building wasn't built by Montezuma at all. It was built by the Spanish rulers of Mexico 200 years after the Aztecs, after Montezuma was dead. So that's rubbish. Then the shore of Tripoli was the one I was more interested in. I didn't know anything about this, Mark. I've got a degree in American Studies. I've never heard about this before in my entire life. The first ever time the Americans fought a war outside of the Americas were the Barbary Wars of 1801 to 1815. And so the shores of Tripoli refers to the first Barbary War. Have you heard about the Barbary War, Mark?
No, I've not heard about the Barbary War, no.
So it turns out that after...
And it lasted 14 years?
Yeah, well, it was two wars. It was split into two, basically. They fought once and won, and then
had half-time and changed.
And then half-time changed, and had to fight it again. So what happened was that when America was fighting us, their shipping was under protection of the French, because obviously the French just wanted to get on our nerves. So we're protecting the Americans. But then once the Americans were independent of us and we weren't at war with them anymore, the French withdrew their protection of the American ships. And so in North Africa, there was a group of small nations who called themselves the Ottoman... I've not written it down. They were called the Ottoman something. It was like an offshoot of the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah.
And the way they made money, basically, was in piracy in the Mediterranean. And as soon as French protection went away from the American ships, they just started pirating all of the American ships whenever they went past. They just board them.
We'll have that.
Take all the cargo, kidnap everyone. Yep. And in the end, Thomas Jefferson got so annoyed that he decided to start a war. So he sent over his whatever American Navy they had at the time, and the Marine was the first sort of foreign expedition by the Marines, which is why it's in the Marines here.
Okay, yeah,
and they won. But this is also the case of the first time the Americans invaded and fought the Arabs. So it started that great tradition that they maintain to this day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd never heard of any of that at all. Yeah, that absolutely completely passed me by.
That's amazing. No.
Yeah, so anyway, back to the piece. I was quite excited. I have to say, I think I find Hydrofoils slightly more exciting than... I don't think they're visually as exciting.
Yes.
But I think they just... The way they so smoothly and speedily glide through the water, gracefully through
I was
the
about to
water.
say, there's a grace to a hydrofoil that the hovercraft, for all its elegance, is really clumsy. You know?
Yes, yeah.
The hovercraft flails around like a happy drunk, whereas the hydrofoil just passes over everything, right? Lets everything slip under it.
It's like I think it's very similar to the difference between a helicopter and an aeroplane, isn't it? Really, like a helicopter is very inefficiently spinning that rotor blade, but has a lot of manoeuvrability. But a plane glides through the air nice and sleekly, and I think this is the same thing with the hydrofoil, isn't it?
That's a good way of putting it, actually. Yeah. I mean, I have been in a helicopter. I do not think I would go in a helicopter for long distances.
No.
Not been on a hydrofoil. Have you been on a hydrofoil?
No, Mark, I haven't. No.
I've been on a seaplane, but not a hydrofoil.
No, I missed my chance. If I'd moved to the Netherlands...
You missed your chance?
Well, if I moved to the Netherlands about 10 years earlier than I did, they used to run a hydrofoil from Amsterdam Central Station all the way to the North Sea. Along there's a thing called the North Sea Canal that runs all the way across the Netherlands, across Holland, and goes to the North Sea Canal. And they used to run a hydrofoil up there for between 2009 to 2013, and then they stopped doing it. That would have been fun, wouldn't it?
That would have been great fun.
I would have, if that was available, gone on it,
taken it
just before this episode, just so I could report.
Oh,
back.
I see. Yeah.
Because they are apparently beautifully smooth, Mark. They I'm sure. That's the other thing about hovercraft. I don't know whether you experienced a hovercraft. Was it quite lumpy? Because apparently one of the problems with hovercraft is it used to make passengers sick quite a lot because it's quite on the old waves.
Difficult to say, mostly because I think my suspicion with hovercrafts is that if the weather really is quite bad or the sea is quite choppy, they don't run. So I suspect they are kind of more impacted by weather than your normal boat. So I suspect that, the Isle of Wight one, I don't recall it being particularly choppy. I do remember it going up and down.
Yeah.
Like it is not like riding on, a carpet of air. It is like riding on a carpet of air that is impacted by waves. The big one, I don't recall as much. I suspect the big one probably was a bit less impacted by small swells. But yeah, no, it didn't feel like you weren't on a boat. How about that? Yeah.
Whereas, these hydrofoils generally appear to be gliding quite serenely. But then we have a man in the second half of the piece.
Yeah.
Christopher Hook.
Yeah.
Who claims that he has a way of making these hydrofoils even smoother, making them
buttery smooth,
absolutely buttery smooth.
Yeah.
Because the current the ones that we see generally in this piece have the hydrofoils are on the surface on the water, so like pond skaters.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
On the surface of the water. His idea is that if you put the hydrofoils under the water, they won't be affected by the surface waves, and it will be able to cut through and have a lovely smooth. Right, he illustrates this. He claims to be, they call him a naval architect.
Yeah.
I don't think he should have passed his diagram drawing exam.
He's awful.
His diagrams are terrible. He's awful. His diagrams are awful. They look like a child's drawing them. He's got a picture of the boat. It's not a very illustrative picture of the boat, I don't think. It's quite a simplistic picture. And then in order to explain his idea, he's drawn like a little picture of a choo-choo train at the top. It's a really bad picture of a choo-choo train.
Yeah.
Showing it going through a tunnel and over a viaduct.
A viaduct, yeah.
Doesn't really add anything to the whole thing, does it? It's not a great expression.
No.
You had your suspicions that he was just some chancer and some friend of the program,
I did.
Yeah. Turns out he's not, Mark. Turns out
is he a legend in the industry?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. He's basically up there with Sir Christopher Cockerell.
Oh, stop. Whatever.
Weird, and that's what's weird is that the hydrofoil and the hovercraft are seemingly forever entwined as sort of craft. Like when I was researching this, the same sort of sources kept coming up for both. One of the sources that kept coming up, and I didn't know this was like a thing. But so one of the interesting things about Google now, because there's a period last year, like before Google AI came in, there was a period where they just seemingly deliberately were making Google really rubbish, and I was finding it really difficult to find things. But now what seems to have happened, in order to, obviously with the AIs that they're trying to teach them more and more stuff, is they're having to feed them more and more information. And what they've started doing now is feeding them actual magazines. So when the AI results, just to reassure the listeners, I would never rely on AI results for any of this my research. No. But what the AI results do, they provide you with some links that you can go to. Mm-hmm. And what it now sometimes links to are scans of magazines, which it never used to do before. So I've started being able to read original scans of original magazines, which actually is a great development, Mark. I'm quite enjoying it.
That's sounds quite exciting.
But the thing, what kept coming up was this magazine. Hang on, where's it? I wrote down its name. Classic Fast Ferries. So it turns out there's a magazine. There's a magazine called Classic Fast Ferries, which has been going at least since, I think, the first issue I saw was from 2002, and then the most recent issue I saw was from like 2018. So it was going for, I don't know if it's still going, but it's going for well over nearly 2 decades. And it only talks about hovercraft, hydrofoils, and catamarans, and that's it, and like used as ferries. That's got to be one of the most niche. Who reads that?
That is perverse, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like that sort of things that turn up on.
I was thinking that. Yeah,
words
have I got any for you? Yeah.
Anyway, so thanks to that magazine, I managed to get quite a lot of information. So yeah, we see a huge variety of hydrofoils. I think one of the reasons why I find hydrofoils quite fun, Mark, because we're shown lots of different ones in this piece, aren't we? And they're all wildly different from each other.
They are.
Because basically, it seems like as long as you bolt these sticks onto the front of anything, then you can turn it into a hydrofoil. So I mean, in the end, you have a lorry that turns into a hydrofoil. So I think that just makes it fun. It makes it like
there's a real variety to them.
Yeah, like there's sort of children's toys sort of fun to it, you know. But they've been around for a long time. The first hydrofoil was built by an Italian man called Enrico Forlanini in 1898. Mark, he's the first person that came up with it.
Gosh.
And I've got a picture. Put a picture at the bottom there. That black and white picture. That's the first. That's the first ever. That's his first hydrofoil that he built, and that is on.
Kind of cool.
That is on Lake Maggiore, Mark. The place the lake where my friends own a house that I always go to visit whenever I go to Italy. That's the lake. That's the lake that it overlooks.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it turns out, Lake Maggiore is quite closely associated with hydrofoils for some reason, because a few years later, Alexander Graham Bell of telephone fame, he was reading about Forlanini's hydrofoil, and he thought he was really excited by it. He thought, this is a great new invention. I want to invent my own hydrofoil. So swept his telephone and patents on the floor, and got working on his own hydrofoil, which he called the HD4, and he launched it in 1919, and that could go 71 miles per hour.
Jeez.
In 1919, a boat could go 71 miles an hour in 1919.
That's amazing. Yeah,
that's fast.
Barely any cars could, right?
Yeah. And he held that boat held the boat speed record for 20 years. So yeah, and then they tried a few hydrofoils in World War II, but not really that many. And then 1952, there was a Swiss firm called Supramar who decided to build a hydrofoil to carry passengers. And guess where they carried passengers, Mark?
In Switzerland.
A Swiss company.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Go on. Either Channel.
Lake Maggiore.
Oh no! Again.
Yeah. Because Lake Maggiore is half in Switzerland, half in Italy.
Oh.
Yeah. Weird. Yeah. So weirdly, by some weird, I don't know why Lake Maggiore is some sort of is perfect for hydrofoils. I mean, it's a big lake. I don't know. Yes, I don't know.
To be fair, I'm looking at it on the map now. Yeah. Oh, it's all kind of like long and thin.
Yeah. So maybe it's just get from one end to the other really quickly, I guess, maybe. Can't be bothered.
Okay.
But then that company expanded quite quickly. Some other bloke bought it in 1968 and invested loads of money in it, and they started putting hydrofoils all over the place. So they put hydrofoils in Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Britain, Norway, the US. Meanwhile, the Soviets, they went, oh, we like the look of a hydrofoil. And I obviously Raymond here, one of the first ones he points to is this Russian hydrofoil, doesn't he? He's got this, and that's quite
which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that one. That's another Jerry Anderson looking thing.
Yeah,
and it turned out, so there was this Russian designer inventor called Rostislav Alexiev, and he's generally considered as like the father of the modern hydrofoil. He was designing hydrofoils left, right, and centre, including that one that appears in this piece. That was one of his designs. He also, Mark, you'll like this. Yep. He was also the man who designed and invented the Aquanauts plan.
Fabulous.
Yes, which I hope turns up in tomorrow's world at some point.
I know. I put it down there when do we think they'll develop the balls to show us the granite plant? It's more a case of like, must put that in the hopper somewhere. And kind of, I doubt it's ever been on the show.
No, because I think I first heard about it. I may have read about it on the internet at one point. Then I think was it James May did a whole special about it once.
I think yeah.
But that is, if anybody's never seen an Aquanauts plan, Google it now. It is the most impressive looking vehicle imaginable, isn't it?
It's genuinely epic.
It's a beast. It's an absolute beast. The Russians do know how to build an impressive looking big thing, don't they?
They do. They really do.
Actually, that was when I was looking at different hovercraft. The biggest ever hovercraft is built by the Russians. The Russian Navy's got a couple of them. They used to carry tanks, and they are huge, like upsettingly huge. Like you know that sometimes things are a bit too big and they make you feel weird.
Yeah. What's that called? Like megaphobia, I think it is.
Yeah, there's something about the Russian hovercraft that's like that. So yeah, this.
Oh my God, I'm looking at it now. Oh, I don't like that at all. That's so unpleasant.
Yeah, those
like you would instantly surrender.
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you?
Oh my God, that's not happy. I'm not happy with that.
But yeah, so the Russians essentially became the go-to piece of hydrofoils for a long time. They still have a load of hydrofoils in their navy, and they still use them in transport, and they're all over the world. So very popular, Mark. Mm-hmm. But Sir Christopher Hook and his invention. This is the thing, Mark.
So you're selling this to the Americans, Russ.
So I've got two more hydrofoils underneath the very old one there. So the one directly below that's a Boeing hydrofoil that they use in America. It's called a Boeing jet foil. That's used a lot around here. And I think Boeing don't make them anymore, but they license them to Kawasaki, who still make them. They're very popular in Asia. And then below that is the newest hydrofoil available, which is in Stockholm. Only started in Stockholm last year. That's an electric hydrofoil, which ferries people around the water around Stockholm. Now the thing with both of those, Mark, is that their hydrofoils are fully submerged hydrofoils, i.e., they
Hook
are
was right all along.
Following Hook's
law.
Hook's, yes, yeah, and pretty much all modern commercial hydrofoils have submerged hydrofoils, so they are all.
God damn it!
Yes, Hook is the father and the pioneer of all modern hydrofoils. So much to the point that I found a document written by him, which in capital letters said, "The submerged hydrofoil is a British invention. I invented it in 1942 by Christopher Hook." Yep. And this is the thing, Mark.
By me, Christopher Hook, aged.
Yeah. This is the thing. This document, it's not very well written. It's got quite a lot of.
You shock me.
It needed an editor. It's just been...
he did not strike me as someone who would give something a second pass or give it to someone else.
No. And the other thing is, his story is quite similar to Christopher Cockerell in that he had this idea and it was not taken seriously by the people who took it to, and then he didn't get very much money for it. But unlike Sir Christopher Cockerell's sort of very dignified resignation that that's life, Christopher Hook's document is absolutely dripping in.
Needless to say, I had the last laugh.
Yeah, he is so bitter. He is so bitter. So it's quite a long document, but I'll give you the highlights. The story goes that he was living in Vichy, France, with his wife. His wife's French. They escaped
Vichy, France.
They escaped Vichy, France in 1942.
Okay, at least they escaped.
At this point, he'd had the idea for the submerged hydrofoil. And this is the bit I didn't understand, and he doesn't clarify. He said he went to Britain, and he went to the nearest British naval base because he had an idea that could be useful for the invasion on D-Day, right? Now, obviously D-Day was in 1942, but what I couldn't work out was... Well, D-Day was D-Day. If it could be before D-Day, because D-Day was secret. It's absolutely top secret.
Yeah. No one knew about D-Day.
So he wouldn't have known about D-Day.
No.
So did he? So was it after D-Day? And then did he go to the Navy, going, "Oh, lads, you should have used this thing that I invented"? Is that the idea?
My suspicion is that like he refers to D-Day after the fact, but he probably turned up and said like, "Hey, when we decide we're going to take the war back to the Hun and we're going to go over the channel, I've got something to help you." And then just D-Day became the name for that event after the fact. Yeah. I think if he turned up and said, "Hey guys, I've got a great idea for D-Day 2 years before," I think he'd have been shot.
Yeah. So anyway, he took it to some Navy, the sort of people in the Navy that know about designing boats and stuff. Apparently, they loved. He says they loved it. They showered him with praise. This is all. They loved it.
Yeah.
They gave him loads of assistance. They were going, okay, well, let's build it. Let's build this thing. But the Admiralty weren't having any of it. They said, no, this is not going to work. We're not interested. So they shut down the project. So he couldn't do that. So he couldn't go through the British Navy. So much like Sir Christopher Cockerell, we spent the 50s developing his idea, remortgaged his house, spent loads of money on it, like nearly ran out of money getting this thing done. Took it to the boat show in New York, where it got featured on CBS on TV. So it was actually quite popular. In his words, soon one solid mass of humanity crowded around the boat, and this state lasted for a week. Right. So apparently his boat was surrounded by a solid mass of humanity for a week. Interesting though, nobody ordered any. But he did have a book full of names, and also the US Navy had registered a slight interest in it.
Yeah.
So at this point, he found an American bloke to invest in his idea. So that presumably is the bloke who's mentioned in this piece, because they do say that he's going to sell it to the Americans, don't they?
Yeah.
He then claims that the US Navy gave him a contract to build a large hydrofoil, and they were going to pay him a royalty. So it's a very similar story. Isn't it? Going to pay him a royalty. However, unlike Sir Christopher Cockerell, he supplied the prototype to the American Navy, and they didn't pay him a penny. And he claims that the US military hydrofoil program was worth in total $200 million, and that he should have received a cut of that $200 million, but he didn't. I do agree that he should have received some money for the hydro. I don't know whether he should have received $200 million.
No, I'm with them on that count.
Yeah. But he doesn't.
No money doesn't seem quite right.
No. But yeah, he didn't receive any money for that. But that is quite weird. That's quite a weirdly similar story.
Yeah, very parallel.
Yeah.
Stories, right?
But despite this, yes. So the reason why it was quite difficult back then as an idea, the submerged one, and why it took a while to take off, is that when you've got a hydrofoil on the surface of the water, because the foil can move to have a different angle of attack, and when it's on the water, it's self-regulating because it hits the water and moves. When you've got it underwater, it doesn't self-regulate. You have to control it to maintain the stability of the boat. And back then, that was quite a difficult thing to do.
I assume they were manual by eye, right?
But these days,
that sounds difficult.
Obviously, these days we've got computers.
Yeah.
So once computers could come into it and they could automatically make adjustments all the time. That's when they became a popular thing, and that's why they're the main thing they use now. So yeah, it's a tremendous success, Moss. It's much more of a success than the hovercraft. They're used everywhere, and they're great, and everyone loves them, and they're super fast and brilliant. It's just a bit of a shame that the bloke who invented them is a bit of a.
He seems like a bit of a knob.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Next.
Well, we've got about another, 18 minutes to go by my watch, and the channel is certainly shrinking at a remarkable rate. But now, from skimming over the surfaces of the sea as we are now, let's turn to the problems of exploring under the sea. In recent years in France, and perhaps more especially in America, a complete new generation of submarines has been developed, the research submarines.
The most ambitious of the new submarines is Illuminaut, built almost entirely of aluminium. She's the heaviest structure ever built in aluminium and consists of 11 cylindrical forgings bolted together with bows and stern of solid metal. Propellers sprout wherever they're needed on these new submarines because maneuverability is the major consideration. Illuminaut can take her 3-man crew down to 18,000 feet. Over 3/4 of the ocean floor can be explored by this craft. Illuminaut was used to search for the missing H-bomb, and so was Alvin, seen here in pieces during a refit. Alvin is older than Illuminaut, and most of her streamlined body is flooded when submerged. The 2-man crew live in a solid steel sphere in the bows. Alvin sinks by letting water into the main ballast tanks, but adjusts her depth by pumping oil in and out of collapsible bags. She goes down in a sort of tail-first power dive, driven down by her main propeller. Getting back up again is the same procedure in reverse, making use of the 2 small propellers as well. Most of these new submarines bear little resemblance to the big ocean-going military submarines, and their most important job is exploration and scientific measurement. They usually work with a surface mothership which tows them to the area of operation. The smallest ones are often carried on deck and lowered into the water when required. This is a French shallow water submarine developed by Cousteau. The crew lie down inside and observe through the portholes. For surveying the shallow waters of the continental shelf, this kind of diving saucer is ideal and can do more work in a few hours than free-swimming divers can do in months. This small submarine deep jeep is being developed for military evaluation as a rescue craft. Its main role would be to go to the aid of other submarines in trouble. But as in the exploration of space, there is controversy over whether to have men or robots. This is Curve, a robot device which succeeded where Alvin and Illuminaut failed. It was Curve which lifted the lost H-bomb off the coast of Spain. Curve is remote controlled from the surface and illuminates the ocean floor with mercury vapor lamps. What there is to see is relayed back by a TV camera. Curve also has a movie camera, a sonar detector, and a claw. In fact, nearly all of the new submarines have claws or arms of one sort or another. The arms of Illuminaut were a quite distinct project developed by General Electric to follow the controlling movements of a human hand. But in pulling up the bomb, the clasp from Curve proved stronger, if somewhat more crude. Curve's claw is for grasping torpedoes, but the arms and hands of future submarines are likely to be used for anything from salvage and mineral prospecting to building underwater houses.
You know what? I would say the thing that comes out of this more than anything is, once again, another thing that happened in history that I had no idea about, is that they've lost an H-bomb in the sea off the coast of Spain.
There's one throwaway line where I think he just says, helps find the missing H-bomb, and then that's it, and we move on. It's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
What?
They did what, sorry?
Can you say it again?
Yeah.
You just dropped it.
What was that?
Yeah. How do you lose an H-bomb?
Good question, Russ. Yeah. How do you lose an H-bomb?
Well, obviously I had to look this up. It's it's fascinating. It's the 1966 Palomares incident, it's called. So 1966, so it had just happened, essentially. So that's why it gets mentioned here.
It's fresh in people's mind.
It's actually, it's quite, in general, the fact that this H-bomb got lost was quite fortunate for Tomorrow's World, because it essentially allowed them to make this entire piece. I've not seen you've seen the film Broken Arrow, Mark?
Yes.
So this is a Broken Arrow incident.
Yeah.
When you lose, apparently, if you lose an atomic bomb, it's called a broken arrow, which is the most serious category of losing a nuclear bomb.
It's nice that there's a scale.
The next one down. You know what the next one down is called?
Broke. No, go on.
Bent spear.
I was going to say bent, but okay.
Anyway, so 17th of January 1966, this B-52 bomber was flying over Spain, southeastern Spain, and it was getting refueled. You know, they do the mid-air refueling. They were doing the mid-air refueling.
Yeah.
Something went wrong. The B-52 collided with the refueling plane. The refueling plane exploded.
Of course.
Completely exploded, killing all of the crew. I think it was four people on board. They all died. The B-52 broke up into bits. Some of the crew managed to parachute. So 3 of them died. 4 of them survived. The B-52 was carrying 4 hydrogen bombs. So it was part of Operation Chrome Dome. I don't know Operation Chrome Dome. It was a Cold War nuclear readiness thing where the idea,
there was always something in the air.
There was always B-52s in the air with nukes ready to drop them on the Ruskies at any given time. That ran from 61 to 68. Each one of these H-bombs, they were quite pokey, Mark. They were quite pokey old things. Each one of these H-bombs had a blast yield of 1.1 megatons of TNT. So, sake of comparison, the bomb on Hiroshima was 15 kilotons. So each of these bombs was 73 times more powerful than the bomb that dropped on Hiroshima.
We were in Nagasaki recently. It's like, that did a bit of damage, that one.
yeah. Spain would have been absolutely mullered if these 4 had gone off. Luckily, they didn't. Although, all 4 fell to earth. 3 of them landed on the land. 1 of them landed in the riverbed, absolutely just soft landing, fine.
Flump.
2 of them hit solid ground, and obviously, in a nuclear bomb, you have a conventional explosion that goes off to set off the nuclear explosion.
Yeah.
The conventional explosive went off in both of those. So they acted like a dirty bomb. So the poor old village of Palomares got showered in plutonium. It was a 2 square kilometre contamination of the area.
Gosh, I can't believe I never heard of this.
No. And the fourth one landed in the Mediterranean. To their credit, the US absolutely shit their pants about this, and I think said in everything they could. So I've got a list here of all of the vessels that they sent to look for this bomb. I'm going to read it out.
Please do.
USS Kiowa, USS McDonough, USS Nimble, USS Pinnacle, USS Rival, USS Sagacity, USS Salute, USS Skill, USS Nespelin, USS Fort Snelling, USS Boston, USS Albany, USS Notable, USS Plymouth Rock, USS Petrel, USS Tinga, USS Charles R. Ware, USS Hoist, USS Lindelwald, USNS Mizar, USNS Dutton, the DSV Alvin, Aluminaut, PC-3B, Deep Jeep, Curve 1, USS Luisino, USS Everglades, and USNS Lieutenant George W. Boyce. That is 30 different naval vessels or exploratory vehicles they sent, plus 150 professional Navy drivers. So yeah, they were really trying to look for this thing. But have you noticed there, Mark? I read out the names of all of the scientific exploratory subs that I mentioned in this piece.
Yes,
and that's the key to this piece. They've basically just used news footage of all of these things searching for this H-bomb.
That does make perfect sense, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so it's already been done for them. There's no work in this whatsoever.
No, not at all. No. So it was eventually found by the Alvin, the DSV Alvin, which I'll come to a bit more in a minute. That was the one that found it. But it tried to lift the bomb up. It couldn't. Its weak little rubbish arm. Couldn't do it. So they sent
little T-Rex arms.
So as mentioned in this piece, they sent in Curve, which is the remote. It's the first ever remote submarine that got tangled in the parachute of the bomb had a parachute on it.
Okay.
You got tangled in the parachute strings, and they was able to just come up with it, like just wrap around it basically.
And remind me, Curve is the one that's going to build all their underwater homes.
Yes, right? All those homes underwater that we're all going to live in. Yeah. That'd be a good offshoot of Homes Under the Hammer, wouldn't it? Homes Under the Water. Anyway, one thing I really liked about this though, so it took so it was after 80 days they found it. So all of those ships, it still took about 80 days to find the bloody thing. But the reason why they knew roughly where to search was that there was a local fisherman called Simo Orts who basically saw it go in the water. So he was able to point the rough area where it fallen in the water. So he had so there's this laws of salvage in the sea.
Oh, yeah.
So he managed to get the former US Attorney General, Herbert Brownell, who was the US Attorney General under Eisenhower, to represent him in court in New York. I don't know how he managed to do that. I don't know if he's done pro bono or what. But so he represented this fisherman in a salvage court case in New York. And this is what
he was claiming to be the owner of the H-bomb.
Yeah. This is what Herbert Brownell. This is what Herbert Brownell said to the court. He said, "It is customary in maritime law that the person who identifies the location of a ship to be salved has the right to a salvage award if that identification leads to a successful recovery. The amount is nominal, usually 1 or 2%, sometimes a bit more, of the intrinsic value to the owner of the thing salved." But the thing salved off Palomares was a thermonuclear bomb. The same bomb valued by no less an authority than the Secretary of Defense at $2 billion. Each percent of which is, of course, $20 billion.
Yes.
Which I thought was a brilliant and very cheeky claim.
Yeah.
Apparently the Air Force settled out of court, although Orts subsequently claimed that never paid him a penny. So it's another fatty. Listen,
what the
US
hell
military,
is going on?
Stingy buggers, aren't they? Yeah. But anyway, obviously, going back to the contamination on the land, the dirty bomb on the land, the US and Spanish authorities basically worked together to clean up the contamination. They ended up removing they removed 1,750 tons of soil and shipped it to America to get rid of it over there. Spain then banned America from flying nuclear weapons over their airspace, as you would.
Yep. I can see how that might be something you might do, yeah.
But then that cleanup job was not good enough, and in 2015, the US and Spain came to another agreement where they can actually try and clean up the area again, because they were people were going in and taking measurements and things like that. Apparently the snails in Calamares are absolutely radioactive as hell. Like they've got radioactive snails everywhere. So the whole thing needs another cleaning much more thoroughly. That is still going on. As of 2025, they are still
I can't believe I've not heard of this.
cleaning this area up. A B-52 crashed in Greenland as well in 1968. At this point, the Americans went, maybe we should stop doing this. Maybe we should stop just having nukes just flying around the world. So that's they axed Operation Chrome Dome at that point because it was just more trouble than it's worth. The other really interesting thing about this incident is that there's a Cliff Richard film, a 1966 Cliff Richard film called Finders Keepers.
No way.
Which is based on this story. It's a light-hearted. We're rapidly becoming Britain's premier science and Cliff Richard podcast, aren't we? Really?
Wow.
Yeah. So this is but Cliff Richard and the Shadows are in it. This is the synopsis. Cliff and the Shadows travel to a Spanish town for a gig. When they arrive, they are puzzled to find the area empty. They find out that a small bomb has accidentally been dropped on the town, and the villagers have fled in a panic that it will go off. The boys decide to find the bomb and restore peace in the village with some musical numbers along the way. What a weird
conceit.
Conceit for a thing. Also noticeable, that film, it's the film, during the film of it, it's when Cliff Richard decided to become a Christian. Yeah, during making that film.
Okay.
I don't know whether, no.
I wonder why.
I don't know. He saw God's majesty in thermonuclear weapons. I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
But yeah, so this piece...
Upon my works, ye mighty and despair.
So as we said, this piece is basically just a quick look at various research submarines, which by pure coincidence, all of which were involved in the search for this H-bomb. You've got the Illuminaut, the first one there, which is an all-aluminium submarine. They claim it's the biggest aluminium structure ever, don't they? That's what he says.
The heaviest structure ever built in aluminium.
I did find a house that was built in Palm Springs in 1931, made of aluminium. That'd be heavier than a submarine, wouldn't it?
I'd say so. Right?
That's a structure, isn't it?
Yeah, that is.
That's a lie. It was big though. It was 80 tons. So maybe it was bigger than that.
No, actually.
How much does the house weigh?
How much does the house weigh?
I don't know how much houses weigh.
I don't know.
Anyway, yeah. So that was actually literally built it was built by an aluminium company to promote the usefulness of aluminium rather than the submarine company. But it was very strong. It could go down to up to 5,200 meters in total. So yeah, it was a pretty decent bit of kit. It's now in the Science Museum in Richmond, Virginia. It's been there since 1960 when it was last voyage in 1970. Sorry, it was last voyage. But they still maintain it just in case they need to ever use it again, which I think is a nice little touch.
That's nice.
Then you got the DSV Alvin. That weirdly was built by General Mills. General Mills being the cereal company.
Okay.
But for some reason, which I couldn't find out, they inexplicably had an engineering division in the 1960s, and they built a submarine. I don't know why, Mark. They had so much energy from eating cereal that they needed to get out of the system.
I don't know. Gets you going in the morning.
I really don't know. They really don't understand that. That's owned by the US Navy, and remarkably, it is still in active service now, even today. It's been going since then. The caveat to that, though, is that over the years, every single piece of it has been replaced at some point. So it has been fully triggers broomed.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's still so it's done. Over the years, it's done 5,200 dives, and it's been mentioned in 2,000 scientific papers. And it was one of the first vehicles to explore the wreck of the Titanic. So that's one in the eye for those Ocean Gate people. I think the most fun thing about it is that in 1967. It was attacked by a swordfish, and the swordfish got embedded in its hull. It must have been going a really bloody going some. So the swordfish got stuck in it.
Wow, that's impressive.
So they raised it and then roasted the swordfish for dinner.
Oh.
Their mercury levels must have been off the charts, Mark. As you remember, the swordfish is the most mercury-rich of all the sea fish.
Ask Jeremy Piven.
But quite a nice little thing is that in 1968, it was being carried on a boat with its hatch open. The cables attached to it snapped. It fell off the boat and sank. But they sent in the Illuminaut, and the Illuminaut went down. It took a while to find it, but I think it was like nearly a year later, the Illuminaut was able to go down and pick it up and bring it up. So the Illuminaut rescued the Alvin, and when they brought the Alvin back up, the packed lunches on board were still edible, which is a testament to the preservative effects of being deep in the ocean. And then the other submarines in this bit very quickly was the Sukupe, which is the Jacques Cousteau's one, which they don't name, but that's what it's called. The Deep Jeep, which was designed to recover lost torpedoes apparently. And the Curve, which is the first ever remote underwater vehicle. It stands for Cable Controlled Undersea Recovery Vehicle. And as I say, that was the one that brought H-bomb up. So that's all of them, Mark. But I quite want to go to Palomares now.
Yeah.
See,
Palomares, yeah.
Well, apparently there's no memorial there. There's no memorial there, but there is a road named after the date that the bomb landed on there.
Okay.
Yeah. Next.
From below the surface of the sea, once again to a hover height of 4 feet above it, an altitude at which I may say any conventional fleet air-arm pilot would be decidedly worried. However, the problem of taking and landing off on carriers is that one is very close to the surface of the sea. Only 3 men have escaped from the cockpit below the sea by using the ejector seat, and with more and more demanding aircraft coming along, clearly a new type of ejector seat was called for. However, the scientists and the engineers have been at work, as we shall see.
But from now on, when this happens, there can be a happy ending. For a new system of underwater ejection is now being fitted to all the Royal Navy's Sea Vixen fighters and Buccaneer bombers. In the air, the pilot would be ejected by an explosive, but underwater ejection has to be less violent. The pilot pulls a lever. In an aircraft, his seat would shoot up on compressed air, break the canopy and eject into the water. Life jacket inflation is automatic. Safety straps are released and personal equipment disconnected, and the pilot is pitched out of the chair. If an accident like this happens on takeoff, the pilot may lose consciousness when the plane hits the sea. But because it's all automatic, it doesn't necessarily matter. The seat ejects him at a preset depth. So far, this new system of underwater ejection hasn't had to be used in an emergency, but it's nice to know it's there.
One thing is noticeable about this episode, Mark. Normally, when we cover these very early 60s episodes, one of the things we notice that the segments are quite long, aren't they?
Yes.
Generally.
And some of these have.
But this episode has some of the shortest segments we've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably short segments, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's because they're doing it because if it's the live show, they need to make sure that it doesn't overrun or something. I don't know what they do. Yeah, but they're really sort of like chucking in some really tiny little segments. It's quite unusual for a 60s episode, I think. But yeah, ejector seats, Mark, underwater ejector seats. I never really thought about it before. I mean, you would like to think that you'd just pull the ejector before you hit the water, wouldn't you? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe there's not enough time if you're such a bad pilot, you've just fallen off the edge of the aircraft carrier.
This seems to be the only time when this would be necessary. Otherwise, you do know you're going down, surely. Yeah.
So it seems like a limited use thing because obviously it works a slightly different system to an airborne one works a different system to an underwater one. I don't know what safety methods they have to make sure you don't pull the wrong one at the wrong time.
Well, that's what I was wondering, yeah.
Or whether it's got like a sensor that knows if it's wet, it sets one off. And the modern
but then
one,
if you have that, why wouldn't it just be automatic?
Yeah, yeah. Don't know.
You know, I suppose my takeaway from this is like, okay, so there was an issue and you've solved it. I'm pleased. But it does seem like, I kind of agree with you, where it's like, you really shouldn't be... Yeah,
I just did like
A, you shouldn't be falling off the edge of a boat, and B, you should have enough time to pull your ejector. Your normal one? How
much abuse would you get if you were a pilot? If you were that pilot who just falls off the edge of the how much abuse would you get in the mess from your fellow pilots and sailors? They'd actually rip you to shreds, wouldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, isn't aren't all the military service just fueled by, let's be polite and say, banter?
Yeah.
I'd like to think the government would send you a bill.
How many planes do you reckon you could get away with crashing before they just don't let you get in a plane anymore?
I suspect you're allowed one.
Yeah.
And then when you get to 2, it's a bit like, okay, even if you have miraculously managed to find 2 planes that were broken, you're a problem.
That's still quite a lot of money's worth of damage, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Derek says that these are being fitted to Sea Vixens. I'd never heard of a Sea Vixen before. I put a picture of a Sea Vixen at the bottom just because I thought it was a really cool looking aeroplane.
It is a cool looking.
Look how cool that is.
It's a really cool looking airplane. It's almost like an upside down hydrofoil.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah. Very handsome thing. Almost looks like it's been just designed for a film. You know what I mean? Like not even like I've never seen one flying anywhere. Raymond says only 3 people have ever successfully ejected underwater. Interestingly, the first person to eject underwater just gave it a go. Obviously, these underwater eject seats have only just been invented. The first person was 1954. He he fell off an aircraft carrier, but he just pulled his regular ejector, and it just happened to work, and no one realised that it would. But it just happened. It did work because obviously these things it's just explosives. So there was nothing really anything to prevent it from working. But he got caught up in his parachute and stuff. But yeah, he survived. But then after they did that, then people started thinking, oh, maybe we should actually invent proper ones that are designed to go off underwater. So the company called Martin Baker, British company, who are the world's top ejector seat makers. They're still going, and they make all ejector seats for all of the fighter craft. And actually, I know someone that works for them, Mark.
No way.
Ginger Kate's boyfriend, now husband, Jason Brewster.
Ah.
He works. Well, I assume he still works for him. I haven't seen him for 25 years, but he worked for them back then. I presume he still works. So I see it's like a job for life, isn't it? Working for an ejector seat manufacturer.
Yeah, I'd say so. Where else are you going to go?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the interesting thing about Martin Baker is that if your life is saved by one of their ejector seats, you can send them a letter or whatever, and they will send you. You get to join a special club, and they send you a tie, a patch, a certificate, a tie pin, and a membership card. All saying, I've got my life saved by a Martin Baker ejector seat. And also...
Martin Baker fixed it for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you really want to show off, they've got these limited edition wristwatches made by... Is it Breton, the wristwatch company? Breton?
Breitling?
Breitling, that's it.
Yeah.
They've got special limited edition wristwatches. You do have to pay a bit for the wristwatch, but they are subsidised by Martin Baker, so you get it cheaper than you would have done. So that's worth crashing a plane for, isn't it? Getting a limited edition watch,
What's the name of the company?
Martin Baker. It's called the Martin Baker Tie Club or something. I can't remember what it's called now. Rescue Tie Club.
Baker Collection, proud to be a partner. Oh, Bremont. No,
Bremont, that's it.
Yeah. Bremont is a British watch company. Yeah. Oh, fun. That's quite sweet.
Yeah, nice, isn't it? Yeah, so apparently if your plane hits the water, a plane will sink at 3 metres per second. So you've got 10 seconds to eject. But as we've surmised, most people eject before they hit the water. Yeah. And so even since the invention of the underwater ejector seat, there's been literally 2 or 3 documented cases of anybody ever using it in real life. So, I mean, it's a thing that works. It's just not been used, really.
Okay, that's the best kind of safety thing, right?
Yeah. Some more underwater shenanigans, Mark?
Yeah, I want to hear about Aquanauts, Ross.
Well, we're closing on Calais fast. In fact, we've just made a very slight alteration of course. I think there'll be little doubt that we'll have time in hand for our arrival there. However, what about the man who deliberately goes down into the sea and wants to stay there for an immense period? The Aquanaut, for instance. Now, in the past, what with their snorkels and their breathing apparatus, the bottles on their backs, the Aquanauts could scarcely have been described as the dandies of the deep, until now.
The well-dressed man about the sea will find this new British invention very useful. It's a shell made of glass fibre, designed to streamline all his air bottles and bits and pieces so that he can manoeuvre in fast currents, like a human tadpole. A perspex dome over the shoulders gives goldfish bowl visibility, but much more freedom. Under the sea, the Aquanaut will be free from the fear of being swept away by the current or having his equipment tangled with seaweed. But when this mock turtle suit leaves the swimming pool and enters the real underwater world, Will the fish accept it as one of themselves, or as some fishy freak of evolution?
Incredibly short piece, Mark. Unbelievably short. I blink and you miss it.
Pointless, perhaps?
The dandies of the deep, Mark. The dandies of the deep.
It's such a weird... It's talking about weird conceit. That's a really weird conceit for the show. It's like, what the hell are you on about?
No. I don't know. No. I do like the word aquanaut, though. I feel like it's a word that should be used more. You don't really hear the word aquanaut used very much.
As a watch aficionado, like, I only know it in the context of a watch. I did not know it was a real word that was used to describe people who are underwater.
Seems like it should be a computer game called Aquanaut, or a I don't know, children's cartoon,
console, actually,
or something. I don't know, something.
A Nintendo Aquanaut.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's very, very little. I mean, an aquanaut there is a definition of an aquanaut. I think you brushed on it in the notes. It's not just a scuba diver or a frogman. What's the difference between a scuba diver and a frogman? I've never known that either.
Oh.
I prefer frogman, but I don't know whether there is a difference. An aquanaut has to remain underwater for so long that the gas that he's breathing through the apparatus it has to reach an equilibrium in his tissues of his body, because obviously you're breathing artificial air, which is not the same composition as real air.
Yeah.
So normally, if you're only down there a short time, your body doesn't actually really get used to it that much. But if you go down there for long enough, the pressures equalise, and you reach a point called saturation, where your body is now at one with your body's basically decided, right? Okay, well, we're breathing this atmosphere now, aren't we? This is the atmosphere we're breathing.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what basically you have to be in these pressure and gas conditions for over 24 hours, and then once you reach that point, then you can say you're an aquanaut. Although only if you're doing science. So if you're doing scientific study, you're an aquanaut. If you're doing it commercially, you are not called an aquanaut. You are called a saturation diver. But it's the same thing.
No, I don't like that. No, I don't like that.
But there's many more saturation divers in the world than there are aquanauts.
Of course there are, yeah.
Because our favourite industry, Mark, the offshore oil and gas industry,
yeah.
They've got saturation divers all over the show. They obviously need to go down and fix things at the bottom of oil rigs. It's impressive work, Mike. It's an impressive job. I mean, if it wasn't for my incredible fear of water, I mean, it was something I would probably quite like to pursue. It's quite lucrative. It has pros and cons. The con is that your shift generally is 28 days long, because obviously you can't just go do this thing willy-nilly, because you
pop up and down. Yeah.
You have to live in this artificial atmosphere, remain saturated. So they remain saturated for 28 days at a time. So they go into these special underwater pressurized environments and just stay in there for 28 days, and then go out and doing missions every day. They typically work about 150 days a year, and it takes them between 4 and 5 days to decompress once they've finished their shift. So to get back to dry land and normal breathing and stuff, it takes 4 or 5 days to get back to that. However, they are paid, the North Sea ones are paid £1,900 a day, which is pretty decent. So they do 150 days a year, so it's about £300,000 a year, roughly. Which is not bad for 150 days a year, is it? That's pretty good going. I couldn't find any mention of this invention for a start, Mark.
No. Sorry.
I couldn't find any aquanaut. As far as I can tell, all of these saturation divers and aquanauts just use.
So googling Dandies of the Sea didn't come back with anything, Russ. Is that right?
Didn't throw anything up. No.
Dandies of the Deep, rather.
What I didn't understand about this invention, Mark, is it kind of reminded me of the like Wordy from Look and Read, or
yeah,
or Licky from the new Harry Hill thing. Like it's like a It's just this this weird artificial body thing with arms and legs sticking out of it.
Yeah.
I didn't really see what was contributing to it.
No, because it was full of holes and there was water in it. It wasn't like it was pressurized. It wasn't like it was full of air or anything like that. It was just... I didn't get what it... I truly have no idea what it does. It doesn't do.
Because when you first see it, it's got this big dome on it. You assume it's almost like a diving bell that you wear.
Yeah, but they're wearing a mask.
But they're wearing a mask underneath. So you think all you're doing is restricting movement and vision in this thing. If you're basically trying to swim in a dustbin, really. Isn't they? I didn't.
Yeah. That's a good way of doing it. Yeah.
In an episode that has mostly got some decent inventions in it, Mark. He's a real clunker, this one, I have to say. Not wishing to spoil our audit of it at the end. But one last thing I found interesting I found out about saturation diving, Mark, is there is one case of somebody accidentally saturating diving, which I think is quite an impressive thing to do, considering what it involves.
Yeah.
There was a ship in 2013. There was a ship off the Nigerian coast, which was, I think, it was meant to be going to an oil rig or coming back from an oil rig. The seas were very rough. It capsized and sunk, but it sunk upside down.
Okay, Poseidon Adventure style.
Exactly. Yeah. By pure luck, the ship's cook managed to find himself in the officers' quarters in an air bubble at the bottom of the ocean. It's like, I think 1.2 meters of air he had around him.
Okay.
And he was down there for 60 hours, which meant he reached saturation point of the environment he was in and the pressure. Salvage diving company was sent in to come down and lift the wreck and look for bodies. They go in there and find this alive cook in this boat. So they pop a helmet on him and bring him back out, decompress him after 2 days, and he's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But then
That would freak you out, wouldn't it?
But yeah.
The
best of it was the whole experience made him decide to change his career. So he got a job as a commercial diver.
Oh, wow.
And then got a job at the company that rescued him. It's a feel-good story of the year, Mark.
Oh, I like that a lot. That's really sweet.
Yeah. Went from ship's cook to commercial diver. All because I enjoyed that. It was a much better story than this rubbish invention. Anyway, let's cleanse the palate with more hovercraft action, shall we?
Hooray!
Well, now, we're just slowing down here to get ourselves sorted out because we've made such excellent progress that we very nearly looked as if we would be arriving in Calais too soon. And that, of course, is difficult because one of the problems of hovercraft operation is that these are extremely fast, and the slower, more conventional, old-fashioned, if you like, ferries have to have their times for getting in and out, so we've got a slight traffic delay. However, these are the sort of problem which hovercraft development is going to necessitate solving, and back in Dover there's a foretaste waiting for us of the new £1 million SRN-4 hovercraft, which is going to dominate the channel next year. And on Dover Beach, our reporter is Dandies.
That hovercraft that Raymond Baxter on is peanuts compared to this one that he was talking about, this foretaste. And here we have a rather peanut-sized model of this much bigger one. It'll eventually be 126 feet long, not 8 feet like this model. It'll have 4 engines, and it'll be able to go at 90 knots. That's 100 miles an hour or so. It'll be able to go at 90 knots when the waves are very calm, when the sea is very calm. At 65 knots, when it's at about 4 or 5 foot waves, and at only 25 knots when you've got 12-foot waves, but they're considerable. Well, Raymond Baxter, what sort of waves have you got over there now?
Well, here we've got a wave height, well, it's a swell height of about 3 feet, I should think, with a little popple on it. It's really very quiet.
Well, a 3-foot wave isn't really anything that this would worry about, because it would be able to go very nearly at its 90 knots. It's powered by 4 of the same engines, or very similar engines to which are in Britannia aircraft, so it's really an aeroplane brought down into boat size. It can carry 65 tons of payload, which is a very considerable amount indeed. Translating that into people, it means 650 people, or 38 cars, and about 120 people. Another advantage is that it's, as in this Model 2, that you can drive on, drive off. So you get across in very few minutes indeed. You then have to waste very few other minutes just driving your 38 cars off, and then it's ready for another trip.
Thank God for that, Mark. Back to the hovercrafts.
Oh,
it's a hovercraft.
Hey, what a relief.
I feel bad saying hovercrafts with an S, because it seems like it should be hovercraft. Isn't craft like deer or sheep?
I would say so. Yeah, I think you can say hovercraft. Or hoverscraft.
That's one of those things that never fails to make me laugh, is doing the
Yeah. Trades union. Plural. Yeah.
Pluralising, but with the first word.
Never not fun.
Yeah, so they talk about the SRN4, Mark. I touched upon it earlier. The SRN4 being the hovercraft, I think we know and love, the one that always had hover speed written on it.
Yeah.
Which did the cross channel, the one that you've been on. Big old beast, Mark. Obviously, there's only a model here. The model doesn't really look a huge amount like what it ended up looking like, does it? I mean, it doesn't look like...
No, not quite.
It's too bulbous. But that might just be because it's a model, and they, or I don't know whether they redesigned it or whether they just didn't bother making it look exactly like
it's due to come next year. It's got to be pretty close to the final product, right?
Yeah. But I mean, it's quite impressive. They went from that UFO looking thing that Sir Christopher Cockerell unveiled to a giant bloody thing, the largest civilian hovercraft ever made that could carry 254 passengers and 30 cars in under a decade. That's quite a leap forward in ambition and technology. It was actually known as the Mountbatten class. I don't know whether that was in tribute to the Duke of Edinburgh smashing up the original version. I don't know whether that's why I decided to call this one the Mountbatten class. It weighed 190 tons, 40 metres long, top speed of 96 miles per hour.
So fast.
4 engines produced a combined 15,200 horsepower. And it could operate in a Force 8 gale.
Gosh.
Good, isn't it?
That is impressive.
I wouldn't want to go on one in a Force 8 gale.
No.
I feel like wouldn't it drift a lot? I don't know whether they were affected by drifting. You'd think it would be, wouldn't it?
What kind of Fast and Furious style drifting?
Yeah. Fast and Furious Dover drift. But it was killed off by our other cross-channel favourite, Mark, the Channel Tunnel.
Channel Tunnel, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which our boy Raymond alludes to at the beginning, doesn't he?
He does mention Channel Tunnel, doesn't he?
He says, the Channel Tunnel is, of course, in the offing. He's a little bit ahead there, but I mean, it's one of those things where I was like, God, when I was watching this, I was thinking, God, why did they stop? Hovercrafts are really cool. Why did they stop doing them? It's like, Channel Tunnel, of course.
Yeah,
like, why would you don't need to do any of these.
Yeah, so its final flight was in year 2000. At this point, the hover speed had 2 of these SRN4s, the Princess Anne and the Princess Margaret.
Oh, lovely.
They got taken to the Hovercraft Museum, which is in the Isle of Wight, and they were both there. Then they decided to build some. They wanted to build some houses on the land or something. So they ended up scrapping Princess Margaret. So now only Princess Anne is now the only one left of these giant hovercraft. But
so the
Hovercraft Museum's got it. And you can visit it, and apparently the interior of the hovercraft is also makes up the majority of the museum. So the exhibits are inside it's like one big hovercraft with other hovercraft exhibits inside it. I'd quite like to visit it, to be honest. I mean,
yeah, that sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, the Isle of Wight's got, you go to Black Gang Chine, that beach with the multicoloured sands, and you can go to the Hovercraft Museum.
Osborne House or whatever, and this. That's amazing. Does seem a bit lazy. Sorry, I don't want to be too critical of it. It's a bit like, Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, but I mean, for those 32 years, it was a pretty decent success. The only other thing I would say is that Raymond does mention that he can see. What does he say? He says the celebrated Tower of Calais.
Celebrated Tower of Calais, which I put a question mark after because I don't think I've ever heard of the celebrated Tower of Calais.
You've never celebrated the Tower of Calais, Mark?
I've never. Oh no! Now I feel guilty.
Well, obviously, I had to look. I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, is it worth celebration? There's 2 towers in Calais. I decided that it's probably going to be the taller of the 2. If it's going to be,
it does make sense.
There's one that's very old for the 13th century.
Yeah.
Neither of them are called the Tower of Calais, which is why I didn't know which one it was. The 13th century one was not very tall though, so I don't think it's that one. Raymond probably couldn't see that. The other tower is the clock tower of the Calais Hotel de Ville, which isn't a hotel.
No, it's town hall.
It's town hall. Why is it called?
Yeah.
Is the French word for town hall hotel? Because that's confusing.
No, Hotel de Ville means town hall.
Why does it not mean hotel? Why does it not mean hotel?
Hotel means hotel. Hotel de Ville means town hall. I don't know.
I don't make any sense.
Having learned our language, Russ, we cannot be throwing stones at other people.
I always thought hotel was a French word anyway. Is it not a French word? Yeah, how can a hotel mean? I don't know. I don't make it. Obviously, I'm not going to. As a Kentish man, I refuse to learn any French, so I'm never going to find out. Never going to find out why that is the case. But anyway, yeah, so the Hotel de Ville. And to prove why it's celebrated, Mark, at the bottom of our thing, there's a picture of the Hotel de Ville.
Yeah.
But then to the left of that, guess where that photo was taken?
I'm assuming England, Russ.
Yeah, Folkestone. Yeah. So and you can see it. You can see it on the horizon from Folkestone. So presumably that's why it's celebrated, because it's pretty much the only thing you can see clearly. Some bloke did claim that he used to work in an office in Folkestone, and on a clear day you could read the time on it with a pair of binoculars. I don't know how true that is.
I sincerely hope he realised it was an hour ahead. I will say this. You were talking about was it Lake Maggiore earlier?
Maggiore, yeah.
Obviously, that's shared by both Switzerland and Italy, and that's cool. As a child, when you went to like the east coast of Kent and you could see France in the distance, it felt so amazing and like just mind-blowing and inexplicable. Yeah. And then I suppose as you grow up, you realise, quite a lot of people actually live like you can walk over the land and you're in another country. But there's something about the channel. It's like it is both big and small. That seeing France in the distance feels, I don't know, transgressive maybe. I don't know what it is, but something like you shouldn't be able to see it. They're the enemy.
So that's enough hovercrafts, Mark.
Oh,
let's find out what's going on. In the world of...
I hate this segment. Dracones.
Rubber.
And now back to Raymond Baxter on his hovercraft.
Well, I'm just checking on our position. I can see, but I know you can't, the celebrated Tower of Calais, very close now on the port, on the starboard bow. But pretty well everything we've looked at in the programme so far has been for the benefit of people. But what about cargo? There has recently been a development of immense potential importance in this respect.
Is it? Well, in the water it looks like a whale or a large lazy serpent, but it's a revolutionary form of cargo transport and a British invention. Dick Graham reports.
This gigantic black sausage is in fact a Dracone. It's really quite medium size, a capacity 500 cubic meters, or if you like 400 tons of oil, or maybe 500 tons of water. Price, just a little over £16,000. Of course, Dracones, as you see, aren't really ships, they're not even really barges, but they are doing the job of a good many more expensive ships and barges throughout the world, transporting water and oil.
Tankers in port waste money. Their expensive engines, which should be paying for themselves by working, are lying idle. It's not really the most economic sort of ship.
And so people began looking around for an alternative means of transporting oil. And it's a well-known fact, a very obvious one indeed, that oil floats on water, troubled waters or otherwise. But this simple property of oil gives a clue to the original idea in the mind of Professor Hawthorne at Cambridge.
Well, when we were faced with the tanker shortage during the Suez crisis, the possibility of making tankers of a balloon-like fabric instead of steel occurred to us and really seemed quite well worth exploring. It was also rather fascinating to think of the possibility of having a ship which you could wrap up and put in, send around the world in a packing case. So we started in Cambridge with some experiments with sausage skins and small rubber tubes which we filled with methylated spirits. And then we realized that you could use other cargoes than petrol. For instance, you could carry vegetable oil or fresh water, anything that floats in seawater.
So Dracone Developments was formed with the help of the National Research and Development Corporation. Manufacture began by sewing nylon fabric with artificial rubber coatings to make large sausages 20 times as long as they were wide. The original Dracones were stored on huge mangles, and when wound out into the water and filled up, they proved surprisingly tough. A steel barge or a ship wouldn't undergo this treatment without protest. There's never been a case of bursting in a Dracone made to the approved specification. But although many Dracones were sold, the name, by the way, is Greek for serpent, there were three big problems. I asked Colonel Stevenson, Dracone's managing director, about them.
Well, the three major problems were highlighted when we towed barges in the open sea in rough weather conditions. The first one was a tendency for the tail end of the barge to perform a whip-like motion, which resulted in the outer rubber covering stripping away from the nylon reinforcement of the barge. The second problem was was the fact that we had at that time no seam construction techniques available to us which would resist the action of petrol, aviation fuels in high temperatures overseas in tropical countries. And the third and probably most important problem was the fact that we had no instrumentation available which would enable us to measure accurately the stresses in the fabric of the barge whilst it was being towed at sea in rough weather conditions. We solved the first problem, the one of whiplash, we made two approaches to this. One approach was that Professor Hawthorne and the design team here completely redesigned the tail end shape of the barge to produce a very much larger, a very much more blunt shape to the tail end, which alleviated the problems of whiplash in the tail. And the second one was entirely changing the material construction of the tail end and in fact of the whole barge, and using a cord, moulded cord construction similar to that of tyre construction, and this piece illustrates the point. Here the nylon reinforcement, instead of being a fabric, runs in the form of nylon rods through the rubber construction of the barge. The problem of seams we dealt with by using a vulcanized seam technique, and the third problem of instrumentation was rather more difficult. As I said, no instrumentation was available to us, and we had therefore to settle down and design and develop our own strain gauge technique, and with this we can accurately measure the strains in a barge in the open sea.
Of course, the new Dracones are a tremendous advance on the old ones. The Dracones have already been made twice this size. There are plans for Dracones 10 times this size. This particular vessel is designed to carry fresh water, and this necessitates a coating of synthetic rubber on the inside. Therefore, for inspection purposes, men have to work actually inside this Dracone, and they are in there at the moment. That's why it's inflated. However, to get in, there's a slight problem. The only entrance is through this inflation hole here. Therefore, we have to disconnect the inflator, and incidentally, we have to wear the right garb to get in there. Okay, boys, let's try it. Pretty quick it has to be. Oh, my goodness. Now I know what Jonah must have felt like.
Maintenance on the outside of a Dracone is easier. No corrosion, no painting or chipping. Just scraping off the barnacles every now and then. Dracones are at the beginning of what everyone hopes will be a rosy commercial future. So far, there are plans for Dracones up to 10,000 tons capacity, and most of a lengthening order book will go for export.
Dick Graham, Mark, we've got a new presenter. It's a rare thing to happen to us this late in the game. But it's always fun to have a new presenter. Actually, we've got two new presenters this episode. The previous segment was also had a different presenter, but Raymond tailed off weirdly, and so we didn't hear they say the name of the presenter, and they don't put the names of the presenters in the credits. No. So it was utterly impossible to find out who that previous man, what his name was. So he will have to be known as Mystery.
Hopefully we'll catch him at some point in
Mystery
the
Bald Presenter. However, we do know this man's name is Dick Graham. I actually couldn't find out a huge amount about Dick Graham, but I did notice he had a very good voice. And that turns out, actually, what his main job was. He was primarily an announcer and voiceover man for ATV, Anglia Television and LWT, who then moved to the BBC.
Continuity announcer.
In the late 60s. Yeah, he did continuity, he did voiceovers for stuff and, trailers and things. The main information I found about him was there's a Facebook page called The History of Anglia TV, and there's a bit of Dick Graham info on there. It said that he was one of the most familiar faces on Anglia TV in the 60s and 70s. As well as being an announcer, he also popped up as a presenter on regional programmes like Summertime and compared a children's quiz called Junior, I Packed My Bag. He also appeared on the Generation Game, at one point doing different accents and getting competitors to guess where they were from. He was an expert on accents and often worked as a dialogue coach when not presenting. There you go. So that's all I know about Dick Graham, Mark. Yes, I thought he looked a bit folky. He's got a bit of a folky face. You think that weird that beard?
Yeah, I buy that. He reminded me a bit of Jerry Hayes.
I had to look up who Jerry Hayes was.
You remember him in the MP from the James Whale show?
I immediately recognised him once I saw him. Yeah, because they had a weird friendship, didn't they? Him and James Whale.
It was very weird. Yeah. Well, I think James Whale. Every friendship is a weird friendship, right?
Yeah. Well, obviously, I mean, speaking of whales, this
look at you.
Yeah, this Dracone.
60 episodes. Got your eye in now.
Yeah. The Dracone, Mark. Why do you know what?
Yeah.
They do say why it's called a Dracone.
They say serpent. I would have guessed it was dragon.
Well, this is the thing, Mark. This is probably the most interesting thing about the Dracone. So Dracone is Greek. It kind of means it means mythical sea serpent in a way, but turns out that actually it kind of means dragon as well, because the man who invented it, Sir William Reed Hawthorne, who we see in this piece, it turns out that he got the idea for this. He didn't come up with the idea himself. The person who came up with the idea for this was none other than the author of Dune himself, Frank Herbert.
No way.
Frank Herbert, in 1956, his first ever novel was called The Dragon in the Sea, and it was about submarines that tow large bags full of oil.
Gosh.
And Professor Hawthorne read this book and thought, I won't have submarines towing it because they're going to float.
Oh, that's interesting. He didn't mention his little interview there, did he?
He didn't. No. William Reed Hawthorne, actually, important inventor, because before he went on to this Dracone business, during the Second World War, he worked with Frank Whittle on the development of the jet engine. So Hawthorne was the person who designed the combustion chambers that required to burn the fuel to power the jet engine.
Yeah.
So actually, genuinely important inventor.
Yeah.
He was also keen amateur magician, Mark, and he was president of the Pentacle Club, which is an old magician society. And I quite like this quote. So, kitchen staff at Churchill College in Cambridge remember his magic to this day. They remember him as the man who made cheese rolls come out from behind his ears.
Wow. Oh, I hate magicians. I'm sorry if you're listening and you're a magician. I'm sorry, but...
So actually, quite interesting. Clearly, science fiction fan and a magician.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know how old you thought he was there.
He
Mark.
must have been dripping in ladies' rust.
He died in 2011. I can't imagine this man.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
he's old in this.
He's old in this, didn't he? Yeah. But he lived long enough to see Transformers: Dark of the Moon. I mean, that's quite impressive.
And then he was like, "Yep, I've lived a full life. It's time for me to check out now." That was one of the ones we saw, wasn't it?
Yeah. So this Dracone, I think we were quite dubious, weren't we? Because we've never seen a Dracone.
Yeah.
Because so essentially, this Dracone it's a bloody great inner tube that they tow in the ocean. Kind of looks like a sea cucumber. I don't know. What does it look like?
Oh, look, sausage is fine. It's like a big long sausage.
They are big. I mean, it is big.
They're huge.
It is big.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. My issue is not. I was also effing bored. This is boring. This if it isn't actually, this feels like the longest segment on the show. But I've not seen one. I have been on the sea enough times. I've flown in the sky over thousands of nautical miles of sea, and I've never, to the best of my knowledge, I don't believe I've ever seen a Dracone being dragged by a boat.
They do point to a few problems with them in this, don't they?
They hint that there might be some issues.
One of them does look like it's been absolutely had the merry hell beaten out of it, and it's all peeling and stuff. So that didn't fill me with confidence, and I could just imagine it hitting a rock and just absolutely, because if you filling it with oil,
it sounds like a nightmare, right?
That's got blackened seagulls written all over.
Well, I was thinking, when the Exxon Valdez crashed and spilt its load, no one turned around and said, well, what do you expect? It's a giant balloon full of oil. It was always going to burst. No one said that about the Exxon Valdez, did they?
No. But I mean, maybe this was just bounced off. I mean, it is rubber.
That's true.
Imagine how rubbery Imagine how rubbery it smells. It must. I reckon it actually stinks of bouncy castle, doesn't it? Especially when he climbs inside it.
Yeah.
That's going to reek of
bouncy castle funk.
It's going to reek of bouncy castle.
Yeah.
And they do have a very specific smell, don't they? I'm never entirely sure whether that's just the rubber or whether it's a combination of rubber and smelly feet. What is that smell of the bouncy castle?
Specific rubber, right? Yeah.
There's always that slight. There's a bit of a smelly feet.
Hose it down.
There's a bit of a smelly feet smell about it, though, isn't there? Always.
I don't know. I suppose I haven't really paid that much attention.
I haven't been a bouncy castle for a long time, actually. I think to be fair. You will be shocked to know, Mark, that these are still widely available and sold. They don't use them for transporting. Well, they do use them for transporting oil, but not in this. Not crude oil or anything like that. What they use them for generally is if there has been an oil spill. They have a little like a tugboat or whatever that's got a pump, and they fill them up with the contaminated water. So when they're removing the contaminants from the seawater, they pump them into these, and then they could just tow these back to land for reprocessing or whatever they do with contaminated oily water. So that's what they make. That's their main use. What Dunlop make them, unsurprisingly, the ones that Dunlop make can hold 1,000 cubic meters of oil. Apparently,
that's quite a lot.
They got 20.
I know it almost sounds like a square kilometre of oil, right?
They got a 20-year lifespan. So they're pretty
okay.
So they are quite useful for what they do. And the Dunlop website said, not just for oil spills, our customers are forever coming up with new and innovative ideas for the Dracones, with recent inquiries including transporting fresh water to a fish farm and transporting fish guts from a factory fish processing ship too large to get into port to offload them.
Lovely.
Imagine 1,000 cubic meters of fish guts.
A square kilometre of fish guts.
Imagine that.
Or cubic kilometre of fish guts.
Whoa, the smell coming off that.
That seems like a lot of fish.
The smell coming off that.
Have volunteered up their guts, doesn't it?
There is also a rival now. Some bloke brought out a rival thing that's only used for transporting fresh water to places that need it, and that's called the Sprag Bag, which I quite liked.
Oh, okay. I quite like that name.
Sprag Bag.
Yeah.
Sprag Bag. Yes, that's Dracone, Mark. So
Brilliant.
I guess all we
in my defence, the last line I wrote in this, look forward to finding out that they're actually everywhere and everyone is using them, Russ. So how dare you doubt my commitment to Dracones?
All we've got to do now, Mark, is find out whether Raymond made it to Calais in time.
Yeah, cross your fingers, everyone.
And here we come now, sweeping in on the familiar entrance to Calais harbour, and the swell, which was giving us quite a lively ride earlier on, has levelled off, and it couldn't be a more beautiful and dramatic arrival into Calais harbour. We're easing back now. We're doing only 30 knots, which of course is getting on for 40 miles an hour across the water. And here come the markers. The commander's got radio telephone clearance to come into the harbour, and in a minute you will see the completely new hovercraft port, the hovercraft ramp, which is of course one of the first of its kind in the world, and certainly the first to go into commercial operation on the cross-channel service. Well, looking at my watch, I see that we have 1 minute and 15 seconds of program time left. Congratulations, Bob, a splendid piece of calculation. I think we're going to hit it with the pride of British Rail at its best, may I say. There are two markers, red one to port, black one to starboard in the traditional manner. Quite a little crowd of people I see there on the quay to welcome us, and all I can say is I hope that you have enjoyed this trip across the channel by hovercraft. And I say again, it could scarcely have been a more pleasant ride. Watch now for this incredible transition as we come off the water and up on the beach. You really can't tell the difference inside the machine. And there we come, up to a smooth rest. We let the air cushion subside below us to sink down onto the ramp. The hatch is open, and almost precisely to the second we made it. Well, there we are. We've arrived in France, bang on schedule. By so doing, with our television cameras on board, we have made a little television history because this is the first time there have been live pictures on a hovercraft on the cross-channel trip, and you have seen the latest development in the romantic story of cross-channel traffic.
Sacre bleu.
Ooh.
He made it almost to the second mark.
It was very impressive.
That is genuinely
really
impressive.
enjoyed
That is
that.
genuinely impressive. Good old Raymond. Good old, was it Bob? Bob piloting the
Bob, Pilot Bob, Commander Bob.
Commander Bob. Who, you should have been wearing a captain's hat if you ask me.
Should have been. I think
why would you wear a captain's hat on the BBC? Yeah.
Well, I mean, the guy who is on the beach giving Raymond a microphone is wearing a captain's hat.
Yeah.
What did he fly? Nothing.
I mean, there's actually quite a bit of a crowd there. Waiting for Raymond.
The French.
Do you think they? I was wondering. Obviously, you would have been able to pick up the BBC in Calais. I would have thought back then.
Yep.
Do you think they were watching and go down there and see Raymond?
I suspect it was just probably in the local newspaper, the BBC, or I suppose the hovercraft probably still would have been a bit of a novelty.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And it was like, the BBC are filming arriving, come down and see it. It's like, ooh,
cool.
Because interestingly, the footage you showed me earlier of the original prototype arriving in England from France.
Yeah.
Like the crowd were cheering and celebrating, and then immediately crowded around it. Whereas like the French ones, much more reserved. They weren't cheering at all. They
didn't invent it, did they?
Judging.
Didn't invent it.
No, that's true. Jealous.
We're lucky they didn't barricade the port and try and set fire to it.
Yeah. To be fair, this is all in black and white, right? But you can see the green on them, Russ. You can tell it.
But yeah, what excited? I don't have anything to say about the ending, Mark. I don't think, do I? No, not really. Oh, apart from, of course.
Oh yeah.
Raymond delivers his piece and then legs it instantly.
Immediately
off.
I mean,
sprinting down the beach.
Yep.
Presumably going to go for a slap-up feed at some French restaurant. Champagne, oysters, the works.
With lashings of pop.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Pick up some duty-free and straight back. I don't really get the hovercraft back as well. Do you reckon he just got back in the hovercraft?
Well, it has to go back. Why
it might as well.
Go back together, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it really.
That's it, Russ. All right then, let me take over because it's time to crunch some numbers and do our audit. But in order to do that, we must have the year-end context, Russ. So please tell me the cinema box office.
No cinema box office, 1966, nothing. I can't tell you anything.
Simply no one went to the cinema.
No.
What about the pop chart, Russ?
Not even a hover cinema. Got a pop chart, though. Number 10, Alfie, Vasilla Black.
Oh, okay.
This was in the cinema.
So one assumes that was on the cinema.
Yes, that was on the cinema at the time, yes. Yeah. Number 9, I Put a Spell on You by the Alan Price Set. Number 8, Pied Piper by Crispian St. Peters. Number 7, Sound of Silence by The Bachelors. Number 6, Daydream by Lovin' Spoonful. Number 5, Hold Tight, Dave D, Dozy, Beaky, Mikatich. Number 4, Bang Bang, Cher. Number 3, Somebody Help Me, Spencer Davis Group. Number 2, Pretty Flamingo, Manfred Mann. And number 1, You Don't Have to Say You Love Me by Dusty Springfield. Not many people called Dusty. Dusty's, you know, people called Dusty.
I don't know anyone called Dusty.
No.
Weird. Do you think people caretaker in Futurama, was he Dusty as well?
Dusty. There's obviously this Dusty Bin.
There's Dusty Bins. That's 3 Dusties possibly.
Advert. Yeah, obviously nothing that we remember, but I have to say this is a very enjoyable advert. I think you'll enjoy it, Mark.
Oh, okay. Oh.
I wonder if he'll like it.
Of course you'll like it. This is man's food. Good, lean butcher steak, tender, juicy kidney, all covered with golden, fluffy, melting pastry. Of course you'll like Fray Bentos steak and kidney pie. It's man's food.
Looks gorgeous.
Excellent, darling. You're improving. Told you so. Fray Bentos steak and kidney pie. Man's food.
Let's get that.
That is unbelievable.
Man food.
Wow, that is quite something, isn't it?
Yeah. I'd never considered Fray Bentos steak kidney pies as man food. I was just more as people with low standards food. But
that's men, right? You're just describing men.
That's a good point. That is. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Wow, that really did live up to your hype. Magazine covers.
Scientific American, pre-Columbian metallurgy. It's got a picture of like a piece of jewellery, presumably from either the Aztecs or the Incas or somebody like that. Popular Science, we test drive US car with rotary engine. Now, Mark, I don't know whether you know much about this, Mark, but you know who invented the rotary engine? It's got great.
Is it someone who's been on this show?
No, it's got great comic potential.
I don't know.
It is a man called
Dick Cockington.
No, it's a man called Felix Wankel.
Of course, the Wankel.
The Wankel rotary engine. So it says, we test drive US car with rotary engine. Wankel fever hits Detroit.
Oh, that's lovely.
Time magazine. It's just red text on a black background. Is God dead? ?
Ooh, ballsy. I like it.
Private Eye. It has Pope Paul VI in a friendly, greeting embrace with the Archbishop of Canterbury, who at the time was Arthur Ramsay.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pope is saying, do you come here often? And Playboy has pictures of lady in a dress playing with a bunny in various poses. Inside, we've got concluding Ian Fleming's James Bond novelette Octopussy, an explosive interview with neo-Nazi Rockwell, spring-summer fashion forecast, plus Ken W. Purdy, Herbert Gold, Jack Denton Scott, and Vladimir Nabokov.
Okay. He wrote Lolita, didn't he?
He certainly did.
Right. Shall we?
Yep.
Cool. Ross, most important invention. You'd love to say hovercraft, wouldn't you? But it's got to be the hydrofoil.
It's annoying, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, the hydrofoil, absolutely.
Or maybe arguably the curve, which rescued us all from the H-bomb being just off the Spanish coast. But yeah, sadly, it's not the hovercraft.
No, the hydrofoil's absolutely spanked the hovercraft in terms of usability and general.
Just existing in the now.
Yeah.
Most worthless invention, Ross, was got to be the bloody Aquanaut.
It's the Dandy of the Deep.
The Dandy of the Deep, yep. Most inaccurate prediction of the future, I suppose, unfortunately, it has to be the fact that hovercraft was the future of naval transport.
Yeah.
It's not without its success, but the fact that it ultimately was a failure, right?
Well, there's only 2 hovercraft services left in the world. Yeah, you've got to say it was a. I mean, it wasn't a. I mean, it had its time in the sun.
Yeah. If we were doing this audit 25 years ago, we'd probably still say, oh, yeah, it's still going.
Not recording it onto mini discs and posting them to people.
Of course you would, Russ. Of course you would. Oh, you know I love mini discs. We would be recording and then just swapping it with each other. But sadly, I think unfortunately, it's not a great prediction of the future. Worst group, I think, is from Raymond right at the beginning.
Raymondo, saying
when he says that they recorded the arrival
rather than departure.
Departure, yeah. Best attempt at making something boring interesting. I mean, is it the Dracone section? I do like the bit where they go into one and they're scrubbing the inside. That is quite cool. It is really boring, and they do attempt to slightly make it interesting.
Yeah, it's not a very good attempt. I mean, the only other thing I would say was they're trying to make the ejector seat a bit more interesting by showing planes falling off the ships.
That's true.
But they're weirdly underwhelming crashes, aren't they? So I don't know whether that's a very good attempt.
Like I think I said in my notes, I didn't even find them entertaining. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the Dracone. Not that I write this down or anything. Who cares?
I thought you wrote all down in the ledger, Mark.
Oh, like I did. I stopped years ago. Which, to be fair, is only like 15 episodes. Yeah. Well, you never looked at it, so I was like, why am I doing this?
For your own personal benefit, and for when we've finished auditing, we can then publish our results.
Oh, we publish our results every month, Russ, online for people to listen to and watch. I always forget about the YouTube. There's plenty of people who watch on YouTube.
I think more people watch on YouTube than listen these days, to be honest.
I think it's just... No, we still get more downloads, yeah. So, best use of music. I can't think of any use of music.
There is no use of music. The only thing close to it is the fact that Derek Cooper quotes the hymn of the Marines.
Oh, yes.
That's the nearest thing to a use of music.
Though, yeah. Best or worst use of furniture? The ejector seat?
It's got to be the ejector seat. I mean, it's a seat. It's got to count as furniture, does it?
Yeah.
No.
Most notable clothing?
It's either that's the Dandy of the Deep, if that counts as clothing,
I was going to
say Dick Graham's coat.
I was going to be slightly outre and say perhaps the most notable clothing is the captain's hat not being worn by Commander Bob.
But missing clothing, does that count?
Yeah, that's quite notable.
Mm-hmm.
Its absence is noted.
Yeah.
Other than that, I suppose it has to be. I don't know. Is that kind of is that Aquanaut thing an actual bit of clothing?
Don't know.
I do like.
They do talk about
Dick's
it like it's clothing. I mean, that was the only clothing I noticed. Really, I don't think I noticed any other clothing.
Dick's fabulous.
Dick's coat,
sheepskin coat, right? Did we see anything in the episode that made it through to the future?
Plenty.
Well, we did actually.
Plenty,
Plenty, yeah. Not least of which is the hydrofoil.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest success story of the episode, to be honest.
Yeah, and hovercrafts are still going. I took one 10 years ago, and if I took a return trip, I'd take one again.
And another success story, the DSV Alvin, which is, let's not forget, still in active service.
That's absolutely true, which is quite astonishing. What did this episode tell us about the 28th of April, 1966? My God, there was seemingly so much to be optimistic about, wasn't there?
I mean, the white hot heat of British
heat of British ingenuity, is it, or British technology? Or something
the
like
phrase
that was
now.
the Harold Wilson thing, wasn't it?
But yeah, I mean, we've got two genuine British inventors on here. You got Christopher Cockerell and
like shockingly successful, despite the fact that they seem very, very amateurish, and actually one seems like a prick.
Yeah, both called Christopher. I just noticed. I don't even think about that.
That's true.
I bet he was really annoyed that Cockerell got the knighthood and he didn't as well. I mean, that must have made him even more bitter.
Well, if you are going to be a traitor to your nation and run off to Yankee Sam,
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the best he's going to be is made a Kentucky colonel. That's the closest thing to a knighthood over there, isn't it? A Kentucky colonel.
That's true, Russ. Yeah, absolutely. Or maybe a Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. Yeah. No, I'm not saying he's racist. I'm just saying that's just an option available to you if you go to the States. Yeah, it's just like they're so excited. Everyone's just excited. You can tell that, oh, God, good things are going to come. Well, you're going to win a World Cup in a few weeks' time, so congratulations.
Yeah.
Our tropes, Russ. Presenter having to speak over louder sounds?
Boom. Wallet.
Bosh.
It's a whole episode.
Niche bicycle invention? Not quite.
No.
Something to do with oil rigs?
The Dracone is designed for transporting crude oil. Like, I feel like that.
I agree. Suspiciously obvious brand name on the ad-free BBC. We do see the name of the
Townsend Ferry. Townsend Ferry's on the thing. It's not. I mean,
it's not suspiciously obvious, though. I don't think it's not. It's not egregious. Clear and blatant lying.
Yes. I pointed it out. What did I point out?
You did. You absolutely did. I can't remember what it was now. Isn't that annoying? I had a ticket anyway, but I can't remember what it was.
What? Oh, bugger! What did I say? I specifically said
you called it
that's
out.
Definitely a lie.
Yeah.
So that we could tick this off, and now I can't remember. I can't remember where.
It wasn't Raymond. I think was it not the bald guy, or was it Derek? Anyway, look, it happened. Look,
listeners will remember.
Yeah, of course they will. They're screaming at us what the lie is. The only casual sexism was that amazing Frey Bentos that you just showed me, but I don't think unfortunately that can't count. There were no labs or spaces filled with darkness and star-coloured lights. There was, I suppose, the inside of the Dracone that was filmed, but I don't think that quite.
No,
I think that's really bending it to our will. There were no Dutch angles. There were no items presented. Oh wait, Dutch angle. Oh, the boat.
There was one of the hydrofoils was specifically said to be Dutch.
Very true. Thank you. Well remembered. I meant to call that out to slag off your peoples because it is absolutely. It looks like it's been destroyed by the waves. It looks highly dangerous. The episode, I don't think, does end on a damn squib.
No. I mean, it's a thrilling. It's a thrilling. I mean,
it's perfectly timed.
Yeah.
There's no flannel. There's no hanging around. It's very well done. No lasers.
No, I'm not sure that laser was even a thing.
Oh, that's true.
It's only just been invented.
There were boats.
Plenty of boats.
Plenty of boats. Boat rich. Baxter does bugger off.
He certainly does.
Brilliant bugger off. And they didn't travel to Shepherd's Bush. It's pretty good, though. It feels like it's about 45%, I'd say. All it leaves me to do, Russ, is tell you that there are 1,409 episodes of Tomorrow's World ever broadcast. We have now successfully covered 60 whole episodes, leaving us a paltry 1,349 left, which means we have audited 4.258339248% of the episode's broadcast, meaning we only have 95.741660075 left, which at our current rate means we should finish roughly August 2142, which thanks to AI has told me is a World Cup year, Russ, and somebody has already decided it's going to be in Northern Ireland, so that is something to look forward to. And who said AI?
Who decided it's going to be in Northern Ireland? Oh, did AI just make that up?
No, I have no idea. I did not look up the sources. I thought that was too amusing to search for.
Would have made it up. They won't even be in Northern Ireland in 20. Surely they were in Irish reunification by then. No?
I don't know, Russ.
You're the expert.
I mean, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, well.
Who knows? It'll all be different.
I hope that was a fitting naval tribute to our old friend, Matt Birch.
Yeah.
He'll be much missed. Hopefully they get podcasts in heaven. I mean, presumably they do. If you're spending eternity up there, you're going to have something to do, don't you? So they might as well listen to
need content.
Might as well listen to podcasts up there. So I hope you listen to it up there, Matt.
I mean, it seems unlikely he's not listening, right?
Well, Mark, I do have to go now.
Oh.
Received a message from the local police. Apparently there's been a real absolute spate of aluminium thefts in the area.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. People like been breaking into houses and taking people's aluminium and everything, right? And the advice the police sent me is to hydrofoil. So I'm gonna go down to the kitchen and do that as soon as possible.
I was avidly staring and thinking, like, can't wait to see where this one goes. You didn't let me down.
Anyway,
that feels like that you had that in your back pocket all day. Well done, sir.
But besides that, we'll go now. So, if you are on the internet,
yes,
we will see you tomorrow.
And next time you have a drink, raise it and think of your friends. Take care.
Good health.
Until 7 o'clock next Thursday, good night from tomorrow's world.